A White House official confirming to me that 145% is now actually the accurate new rate on Chinese goods.
Yes, you heard it right. CNBC reporter going apoplectic. Oh my gosh, the new tariff rates are 145% on top of the 45% Chinese tariffs that Trump initiated and that are being challenged in court with his authority. That'll be heard in early November. Yesterday, in retaliation for export controls put on by Xi Jinping on Thursday, Trump comes out with 100% on top of the existing ones. It is a wacky, wacky world, and we're here with 3 hours of a wacky, wacky show. Well, no, we're going to cover the wacky world with a very prescient show, because we're going to be able to talk with some guests that will help us unpack it all and maybe find a way forward that we can advocate with for our senators and our legislators and maybe even the president if he got his ear. If you're going to be heading down to Mar-a-Lago, Jerome, I want you to take some notes today, and at your next meeting with the prez, you can give him some ideas as to how to make sure there's a lasting peace in Gaza, that we can get our rare earth minerals in the next year so that we don't have to depend on China. What else do we need to do? Oh, we need to solve the shutdown crisis. We need to get that over, make sure the military gets paid, and solve the healthcare thing. We can use that to leverage healthcare reform. Can you work on that with the president next time you're down at Mar-a-Lago, Jerome?
Oh, piece of cake, walk in the park.
Yeah, I know. Why don't I give you a real challenge for crying out loud? Right?
Elementary, yeah.
Hey, we do have some fun guests and some informed and informative guests for you this morning. Our favorite economist, Dave Hebert. Now, if you're a tariff if you love the tariffs, you may not love Dave, but he's got some fantastic arguments about why, in the end, it may not be the best thing. But we'll talk with Dave about that, about shutdown economics, because there's really a couple of thoughts on that too. Do shutdowns in the long run really mean anything? I mean, yeah, there's a little burp, a little hiccup, a little speed bump, but ultimately the economy returns to about where it was before a shutdown. But is this one different? We'll talk with Dave about it. And then coming up that's at 6:25. At 7:08, we're going to be talking with Dr. Marion Mass. She founded Free to Care. She's a pediatric urgent care specialist in Philadelphia. And I've gotten to know her through the X feed, and we've done some background talks, and another voice for disruption in the medical space so that you can have more than an insurance card. Whether you have an Obamacare card, a Medicare card, a United Healthcare card, an Anthem card, a Humana card, whatever, a card is not tantamount to having insurance. She has some ideas, and I have a few too, so you'll have to bear with us on that. But I know healthcare has risen to it's really bubbled to the top of the public talkosphere, I think. And a lot of the conversation in public, because that's what the Democrats are talking about, the Republicans are talking about it too after we get the government going. So it might be a great time to rethink some of the disaster, some of the provisions that make your access to healthcare, even though they were designed to make it good, have put such impediments in it, and affordability of it. Maybe use the leverage of this shutdown to fix some of those things, if not all of them. And then, of course, we talked to Virginia Kruta at 7:45, and at 8:05, we talked to Elizabeth Kayser. Of course, she holds forth on Straight Lines on Sunday evenings here on NewsTalkSTL. So get Elizabeth's talk. She's been digging into the AI space. I read a piece by Eric Schmidt, a piece about him and an interview that was done with him. He's one of the founders and and a former CEO, of course, of ABC, of Google. And he has some real concerns, and he's not the only one that has concerns about AI and the ugly part of the good and the not so good and the ugly, which could be an existential threat to us. What does that mean? I know Elizabeth's been talking a lot about that. And I think she's a recovering lawyer. That's that. After a little talk with Elizabeth on and off her show, I think she recognizes that the justice system has some clunks in it, and she likes to work through some of those. But as it comes to the law and knowing the law in the courts, she will be our expert today as we talk with her about the SCOTUS term coming up and the things that are going to be heard, especially as it relates to this tariff deal and all of the tariffs. It's going to be fascinating to see how this case is going to be heard in early November, and maybe they'll fast track it because the tariffs keep building up. The revenues keep building up. the accounting around those revenues and who's paying the tariffs and where are they going and how do they fall out on the financials of various companies involved in the supply chains. What if it's reversed? What if the president's authority to unilaterally implement tariffs is withdrawn by the Supreme Court? Can you imagine how unwinding that could be, so cataclysmic on our economy? Certainly on individual businesses and maybe even individuals, but certainly it could be really interesting. We'll talk with her about that and other things as we roll along on the show today. Now, this Gaza ceasefire is allegedly in place. Jerome, I know you've been following this. I have been, I would say, cautiously optimistic about this round. We saw the exchange of hostages, which continue to be lopsided. I mean, it disappoints me, but that's been Israel's history of giving, 10 times the number of prisoners they have for one or two hostages. This goes back years and decades. But remember, was it last spring or the spring before in 24 when the first round of hostage exchanges took place? That was phase one, which is reminiscent of what was happening here pretty soon with this phase one. Then there was going to be a phase two, and it never materialized. There was no ceasefire. There was no disarmament. There was no, end to the hostilities. So, all I know is that there's going to be a hostage exchange. This time, however, there will be no more hostages for Hamas to leverage. So maybe their posture will be different. Maybe they'll be more willing to follow through with a phase two. But I'm a Reagan guy. I'm gonna barely trust, but I need to verify.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation all around. Part of the reason why Israel seems to be giving more of their side of the prisoners is that they do have more prisoners, and unfortunately, because of a group like Hamas, the way that they treat their hostages and just the nature of it being let's use the entire population as a human shield. By necessity, almost, you're going to see more casualties. You're not going to see as many. They're going to want to hold on to that as much as possible. So the fact that Hamas has actually agreed to release whoever they have left, and unfortunately, many of them are deceased. We actually don't. I believe as of today, we don't actually have an accurate number or estimate of how many are still living. But all around, if this gets peace, some step closer to peace, then I think that's going to be good for everybody, not just that region, but for us as well.
And there have been, I think, well-deserved kudos for Trump and his administration and his team. I mean, we have to give credit to Witkoff and to Jared Kushner, who I don't know how long he's been involved in these, but it seems like he was sort of the closer, if you use a baseball analogy here, from what I can see. I mean, he was the guy that comes in and throws the 100-mile-an-hour fastball and strikes out the side. I don't know how long he'd been involved, but he was involved in the Abraham Accords, and I am so gratified, and I have to give Donald Trump major credit for putting together what I call the Middle East Neighborhood Watch, otherwise known as the Abraham Accords. And I don't know, maybe that's not a totally accurate analogy, but I know my wife organized one of those in the first neighborhood we lived in. And it gave us all a sense that we were all looking out for another's good. And even though we may call out someone's kid who's riding their bike down the street on everyone's lawn not that we were crazy about ruts in the lawn, but you know what I mean. Kids, firing firecrackers after dark and no one supervising them. We would keep one another just informed. Hey, is that you? Did you authorize your kid out? Is that okay? If they're okay, that's cool, whatever. And I think there was a certain wisdom to that because when communities gather together, whether they're in America on a neighborhood watch or in the Middle East with Arab states keeping an eye over what had become an absolute, just unbelievable, seemingly unending fight with lines drawn in the sand between Hamas, of course, and Israel retaliating for October 7th, as they should have done. And then it got to be just a blood war. And I think that it took probably Trump getting those people together, expanding the scope and the influence and the pressure of the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Qataris, and others, to finally say the Syrians. I mean, he did a lot there. Took Iran pretty much off the map for Hamas's support. There was, I think, some strategic brilliance there. So I think strategically, it's been a beautiful thing. Now, where we go from here remains to be seen. Will the IDF draw back in stages? They are going to draw back in some what are basically rectangular outlines that parallel the western coast, the western coast of Gaza Strip, and then to where there's going to be a buffer zone that will be overseen by a yet to be determined, probably international force. Hopefully, there'll be some Arabs involved in that. It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see, maybe NATO troops or UN troops. I don't know. Just like we have the DMZ in Korea, we've got those kind of buffer zones. But again, a lot needs to happen. And until it happens, I won't believe it. I will give credit for gathering Arab nations to put force together on Israel and on Hamas. I'll give major credit for Trump for doing what he needed to do to Iran to basically remove their influence and support of Hamas. But it was pointed out by an analyst who's much deeper analytically than I am on these matters that this was supposed to be the plan with Hezbollah. There was supposed to be some kind of a civilian, sort of a neutral technocrat force in Lebanon that was supposed to take over there. That has yet to happen, is my understanding, right? So you still have this void.
Yeah, Hezbollah, we often think of it more as a militia or just a ragtag terrorist group. They are essentially a governing body of that area. And to your point about the Arab nations being involved, absolutely. I mean, we may not like a lot of the ways that they conduct their policies, but they are the ones that live in that immediate area. And then, as we've seen, some of these people that reside in the immediate Arab neighboring places are the ones that are funding these terrorists and trying to help them, conduct these attacks that can keep these battles going. And that's not going to be good for anybody. So as long as we can keep a sense of, I wouldn't say maybe full peace, because I'm sure something along the way might happen, but as long as we can keep it to a point where the neighboring areas are saying, look, we are on board with this plan to end the suffering and end the casualties going on.
Yeah.
As long as everybody has a vested interest in that, then I think we'll be in a good position for the at least foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I really believe that Donald Trump is much more of a realist and a pragmatist, as most foreign presidents had, or most American presidents had been in foreign policy. As you said, Jerome, I think when it came to the Shah of Iran, for instance, was he a dictator, a monarch? Yes. But the Persians were a lot happier than modern day Iranians, unless they happen to be in the theocratic regime there. But we've realized that, George Bush, while I think his heart was in the right place and he hoped that the world would democratize country by country, I think we've realized that we're better off to let countries be their countries, stay our allies, try not to overnight change their culture. And in this case, Trump's realizing the Arabs are going to be the Arabs. Let's keep them at bay with our power and our strength. At the same time, let's use their leverage in their area to fight whatever war we don't want to fight, but to keep the peace in an area that, we need some of that oil, let's be honest about it, to keep the global markets happy and all prices down. And I think he was a pragmatist, and I have a clip to prove it, and I'll play it at 6:50 or 6:45. We'll play it for you. I think Trump leaned on Bibi in a much more effective and needed way than probably Joe Biden and many others have. That's my hunch. We'll have to see what you guys think. Our numbers all morning are 314-912-1019. No, that's just one number, but there's a bunch of numbers in the number. 314-912-1019. I haven't had enough coffee yet, but we are going to make sure that Dave Hebert joins us in about 4 or 5 minutes, and he will talk with us about the shutdown, the economics of the shutdown, the tariffs, the 145% tariff on China, the rare earth export controls put on by China. There's a lot of moving parts here. Hopefully Dave can help us unpack that. I know he will. Stay with us here on the Tobler Show on NewsTalkSTL. That's 1019 941, the app, the Alexa, you name it, the Facebook, the Rumble. We got you covered. The YouTube. Are we on all those platforms still?
I do believe so, and I'm also trying to look for other platforms. So we might be expanding here soon.
I keep trying to get us thrown off. I'll have to work a little harder at that. We'll be back.
Metaphors, Doctor. Because truth matters.
Let's speak that truth.
Because understanding matters.
Let's break this down.
With all that's happening.
And it's happening a lot faster.
What matters most is...
the only question that matters here.
Are you informed?
Important issues that are facing this country.
Depend on us.
The latest events.
The information you need.
Here are the facts.
When you need it.
We always have great conversations.
You guys have a great radio station.
101.9 and 94.1. News Talk STL.
Jamie Ullman here with the refi and debt consolidation magician, Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. Jordan, tell me about it.
Well, Jamie, with inflation high, credit card debts all-time highs, let's look at a cash-out refinance on your home. With our bagel loan, we're going to have no title fees. We're going to have no lender fees, no appraisal fees. This will help your overall cash flow mightily. It's the time to do it. Jump on now while you can. We can always refinance when rates drop. Bagel loan all day.
314-442-9570 or Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Storm damage got you stressed out? Don't worry. Call Mario and his team at Top Quality Exteriors. We're your local St. Louis neighbors. Mario and his team specialize in roofing, siding, and gutters. Whether you need a few shingles replaced or a complete exterior makeover, we bring quality work with real results at an affordable price. Plus, we'll work with your insurance company to get your claim approved and help you get your repairs done quickly. Call for a free estimate today, 314-618-8888. BBB accredited and ready to roll. 314-618-8888.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Hey, folks, Jamie Ullman here for Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, WowDiamonds.com.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show. I am here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, entrepreneurship, it's one of those buzzwords we hear a lot about, but is entrepreneurship really important to the economy?
It definitely is. Entrepreneurship is a consistent contributor to economic growth. It creates new products and services that people value. It creates the new businesses that provide them. It fosters innovation that improves productivity, and it increases beneficial competition. It generates jobs, income, wealth mobility, and even tax revenues that all support and enhance communities. Entrepreneurship matters, so we need to help it thrive in all our communities.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
You can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
A White House official confirming to me that 145% is now actually the accurate new rate on Chinese goods. A White House.
Well, the CNBC reporter really having convulsions, and I think it sent convulsions through our markets yesterday when Donald Trump announced retaliatory tariffs, 100% on top of the existing 45% Chinese tariff, and markets tanked. Oil prices, by the way, are down, and I think that may be related to what's going on in the Middle East. We don't know. We'll ask Dave. But I can't ever figure these things out. But when I have economic heartburn and I don't know what to do and where we're going, I turn to Dave Hebert, our resident economic expert here. He's a senior research fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research and Substack author as well. Dave, I'm sorry, man. I thought we were doing 7:25, and I was driving when I texted the communications there. So thanks for calling an audible at the line there. Appreciate you being with us.
Not a problem, Randy. Always a pleasure.
So again, we saw the markets tank, right? I mean, the Dow Jones down 800, NASDAQ really swooned. And again, it's being reported that this announcement by Xi Jinping to put export controls on the rare earth metals really got the administration's attention. You almost get the sense there was a frenzy within the White House. Can you explain what do the export controls mean? What exactly triggered Trump's retaliation, and what does it mean?
Yeah, so here's kind of what's happened. So on Thursday, China decided, at some level it seems unprovoked, but I'll have to look a little bit more into what else is going on here. But it seems like, unprovoked, China decided that they were going to start restricting access to rare earth minerals, those magnets and everything else that, everyone's pretty obsessed with in this technology age. And so what they say is that if a firm in China wants to export these to, anyone else in the world, they're going to have to get special permission, and countries are going to have to get special permission to buy these things. And the last little bit is that if these requests are for products used in military goods, the Chinese government is going to flat out reject the approval. Okay, and so in response, right, Trump has now threatened 100% tariffs on top of whatever tariffs are already in place for China, and has said that we will put our own export controls on any and all critical software from American firms. So what we've seen, right, is exactly what you said: a steep fall off the cliff in Wall Street. The S&P 500 fell about 2.7% in just one day. The Dow fell 1.9%, and NASDAQ fell 3.6%. Now, the real question here is why? And that one, I don't have quite the answer for you.
So, but what? Okay, so here's the issue. I mean, I think that the markets had begrudgingly, I guess, just gotten desensitized to the fact that tariffs are there. We don't know if they're going to be reversed when if the Supreme Court says he doesn't have the authority. God knows what that's going to mean. How do we reel those back? And are there going to be massive refunds? Okay. But I think there'd been generally a little bit of some stability, some calm. There hadn't been this like every day, as we talked earlier, after so-called Liberation Day. It seemed like every other day there was a new massive shift from one side to the other. And it just seems like this has really overturned the apple cart, hasn't it, once again?
Yes. So I understand why the stock market fell. That makes total sense. What I can't figure out is why did China on Thursday all of a sudden, start restricting these rare earth minerals again, right? We had something good going. It seemed like we were on our way toward making a deal where, the U.S. and China would continue their trade relationship and really just kind of continue being, two of the biggest economic superpowers in the world. Now, all of a sudden, that is once again in jeopardy. So what's going on here? What's going on in China that's caused them to make this move, right? To me, there's kind of three things that I can think of. So one, they probably want to keep more of the rare earth minerals for themselves, right? They are continuing to ramp up their shipbuilding capability, especially their military shipbuilding capability. But this seems a bit strange, right? They're a party state capitalist country, and they totally have the ability to just tell their companies, hey, give us those rare earth minerals or else. And they have an actual track record of following through with the or else part of this threat. So that doesn't seem, necessary. The second is that it seems likely, at least from what I'm reading, that Trump's IEEPA tariffs are going to be struck down by the Supreme Court next month, which will seriously curtail the president's ability to respond in kind, only sort of. Now, IEEPA tariffs might go away, but Trump could probably get away with just flat out saying, American firms are not allowed to sell X, Y, and Z to China through IEEPA without much trouble. But really what Trump is trying to restrict is software, which is really hard to do. I mean, it's kind of like trying to stop people from sending an email, right? How do you do that, right?
Yeah, good metaphor.
So, right. so it's like, really, what I think this is, I think it's an attempt to goad Trump into responding in this way, showing that he is at some level still that capricious president we saw at the beginning when it comes to tariff policy. And then China, by comparison, is going to look much more attractive to trading partners around the world. So what I think China's doing, this is the best guess I've got so far. We'll have to revise it as new evidence comes in, obviously. But the best guess I've got so far is that China is trying to position themselves as the stable economic superpower in the world and attract more countries to sign trade deals with them instead of with the United States.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to lead to another thread here. And by the way, there is just a hot off the press. I imagine your printer needed replacement ink. I don't know how you did. You did this late last night on Dave's Substack, which is a great one. I'm an avid reader. Economics Reality Check. Thanks for the shout out, by the way, Dave, on this latest post about really some nice in-depth analysis on the shutdown. And also on AI and Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize as well. And I want to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, you mentioned global domination by China. We know that the Belt and Road Initiative is all a part of that. We know that they've invested, some say, I think you and I have talked about this, way too heavily on their own building up their cities that are sort of empty skyscrapers. Could some of the aggression in terms of restricting the rare earth and the metals and the things that so much of the technology and the AI servers and all that stuff accounts for or needs, could that be because they're really sort of desperate and their economy is not as healthy as they'd like us to think it is, and sort of like a cornered animal that bites, wants to lash out, or a snake you got cornered, they lash out and bite you? Or is that optimistic?
So, China's economy is one of the most fascinating things that any American audience could ever try to understand. What we always hear, and I wrote an article about this several months ago, but I don't know exactly where it is. But here's the gist of it. Every single year, going all the way back to 2012, we will get at least one story that says China is on the verge of an absolute economic catastrophe, right?
Yeah.
And every single year, going back to at least 2012, we will also get a story about how China is about to take over the entire world in economic superpowerness, right? And so both of those can't be true at the same time. You can't be on the verge of greatness and absolute collapse at all times. And so whether China is going to be this massive superpower going forward is a fascinating question. What we can say is their ability to marshal resources toward a specific goal is at some level unparalleled, right? A command and control economy can do a lot of what economists call technical tasks really, really well. Unfortunately, that comes with the side effect of not being able to feed your people, right? It's what we saw with the Soviet Union and what we see in China today, right? So the Soviet Union did get to space first, but all their people were starving. And so we got to the moon first. That was the big race. Okay. And so what I think China might be doing here is trying to stay ahead in this AI and computing power race. Now, they might succeed at that, but will they become an economic superpower? I don't think so. I think this is going to be a whole bunch of excess AI capacity, just like they have with their housing capacity all over their country, with tons of buildings that are half built, not occupied, all kinds of big problems there. So I think that's what they're doing. But again, we're going to have to figure out what they're doing, over time.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you're right. And I remember I don't know where I saw your column, but I remember that. It's just very, very difficult. And I guess they're so cloaked with everything. That's the way these dictatorial regimes exist and are able to. They just are very, very secretive. They're anything but transparent. So you never know if what they're putting out publicly has anything to do with the reality. Let's follow up one short thread on that. A lot of consternation on the part of American soybean farmers because China has developed over the last decade or so a Brazilian and Argentinian production capacity for soybeans. And now they're pretty much, that's their new market. That's where they're buying their beans from. American buy that. And as we return to this tariff discussion here, now, they're going to Trump, and Trump's talking with them about a bailout. This happened the last time around. Your thoughts on that whole intervention?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not surprising, right? This is exactly what happened in the first Trump administration, and it's what's going to happen in the second Trump administration. The reality is, when you stop letting people trade, they're going to stop trading, okay? When you try to restrict trade, you're going to get less trade. And what happens is other countries in the world, there's another 165 countries other than the US and China in this world right now. And China has reasonably found that they can trade with other countries that can also grow soybeans. Now, the problem we've got is that US farmers have been subsidized into growing soybeans and corn.
Yeah.
When you take away a major customer for soybeans, right, and you've been pushing US farmers to grow soybeans, but now they have no one left to sell it to, that's going to be a huge problem, okay? And so it's no mystery that the Trump administration is realizing that these policies have harmed US farmers. And it's no mystery that the Trump administration needs the support of US farmers to get elected and to maintain their control in the House and the Senate. And so this is a predictable thing. He's trying to bail them out. He's promising future benefits. He's promising that, all these things will turn everything around in the future, just like he's doing with manufacturing in the city of Detroit, where I'm from. And we're just not seeing it. And so I'm very kind of frustrated here. It's one thing to try a new idea, and I applaud anyone who tries a new idea, especially on a world stage with the whole world watching, right? That's a great, characteristic to have. But it's another thing to continue down that failed idea and continue following, even as the evidence continues to mount. That one, I can't get behind.
We're talking with Dave Hebert at Dave_Hebert on X, and his very, very, I love the blog because it's always, I call it a blog, but it's a Substack on Economics Reality Check on Substack, and always very well bullet pointed, so it's easy for me to understand these highlight points, and then goes into a lot of depth and behind that. So a question for you, and can you hang with us for another segment because we need to talk shutdown?
Absolutely.
Okay. So before we do that, though, you still teaching classes? You've taught classes, I know, in the past, haven't you?
I have taught classes in the past. I am not presently teaching.
So I could imagine that an interesting question for like level 101 students in economics would be, so what is required when one market disappears, like corn and soybeans, and suddenly you lose one of your biggest customers? What is required to in terms of the supply chain to make sure that you can be sustainable? And I guess if I was a student on that, I would say, well, you know what? We need to have the government stop meddling and manipulating and encouraging me to have sort of a too exclusive to fail commodity. It's great while it's great, but what happened to the era when farmers were able to be flexible? And if corn prices were down, they planted sorghum, and if sorghum prices were down, they planted whatever. It seems like we've really gone away from that very flexible, market-driven economy in agriculture. I mean, there was good reason for that, I understand, back in the 80s, maybe 70s, 80s. But is there a better way forward than us to be so dependent on just a couple of row crops? And then look what happens when you lose a customer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, farming is such a fascinating thing if you study that over the 20th century. So, as has been trotted out plenty of times, in 1920, something like 45 to even higher % of Americans worked on the farm. Today, it's less than 2%, right? And yet, the total output in agricultural product or produce is higher by orders of magnitude, right? All of this is thanks to massive improvements in technology, massive improvements in farming techniques, and really just the size of the scale of the farm that's involved here, okay? Now, that comes with risks, right? If you're going to set your farm up, in one particular season to be a soybean farm, you're going to tool all your equipment to grow and harvest soybeans, right? It's going to take time to adjust that equipment. And so what we see are these mega, row crops of corn, row crops of soybeans, of sorghum. But that means that each individual farm is very exposed. Now, what we've also done is we've subsidized, soybeans and corn to the point where you see these massive fields of soybeans and corn all over America. Even in Michigan, we're growing soybeans and corn, right? And so what happens here, right, is you've basically seen the government kind of put their thumb on the scale and tell farmers, hey, you should grow these crops. Don't worry, there's always going to be a market for it. But then when they simultaneously destroy that market for it, that's going to be a huge problem. And that's where we're at right now. We've got these mega farms that are specifically geared toward, soybeans, corn, sorghum, right? And that's the problem. They have put their eggs all in one basket. And unfortunately, that basket's not worth anything right now.
Well, okay, folks, let's take a little breather here because the economics class of the air, that is the Randy Tobler Show with Dave Hebert, we'll take a little pause, and then when we come back, we'll talk shutdown economics. Will it be the economics? Will it be too much pain eventually that makes one or the other side blink? Will it be the politics? Will it be the rhetoric? We'll talk with Dave about that when we come back. Meanwhile, check out on Substack his economics reality check, and maybe you should subscribe and follow that, right? Be a good idea. We'll be back with Dave Hebert in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Well, my goodness gracious, let me tell you.
Our government is too big and it spends too much.
I've been down on bended knee talking to
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
place to talk. News Talk STL. JC's Wayback Machine.
This week, it's an absolutely hilarious interview with Bob Euchre, plus Billy Bob Thornton with an interesting story about what should have been a great day with Mark McGuire, but turned out sort of bad, and Bowie and Freddie as you've never heard them before. And don't forget the brand new JC Sunday Showgram, Sunday mornings 7 to 9, all brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. For 28 years, we've been your trusted supplier for everything seasonal. It's homegrown apple season. Choose from many local varieties. Grab some caramel dip or try our made-in-house gourmet caramel apples. Fall decorating? We've got Hardy Mums, corn stalks, straw bales, pumpkins, gourds, Indian corn, and jumbo specialty pumpkins. Perfect for carving or pies. Plus seasoned firewood available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30 and Sundays, 8 to 5 on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com.
When precision matters, trust the experts who live and breathe firearms. Full Circle Reloading and Firearms. Veteran owned and operated by competitive shooters who know what it takes to win. From reloading supplies and accessories to custom rifles and cutting-edge night vision, we've got everything you need. Plus, get precision rifle training from the pros. Full Circle Reloading and Firearms. 923 South 5th Street in St. Charles, or visit FullCircleReloading.com.
Fall is here, and Daniel's Farm and Greenhouse has everything you need to make your yard shine. From vibrant mums and fall blooms to pumpkins, gourds, and seasonal containers that will make your neighbors jealous. Need trees, shrubs, or vegetables? We got you covered with 15 greenhouses of full quality plants, mulch, soil, and winter protection supplies. Our family knowledgeable staff is here to help you 7 days a week. Daniel's Farm and Greenhouse, family owned and your outdoor experts. On Juggerman and St. Peter's and at danielsfarmandgreenhouse.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the Great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
Hi, Chris Arps here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks of Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event takes place on Tuesday, November 18th at the factory in the district of the Chesterfield Valley. You'll hear from their experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2026 and beyond. Doors open at 7:30 a.m. and the program starts at 8 a.m. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by calling 314-212-1595. That's Royal Banks of Missouri.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
This is Larry Connors. Right now, you're listening to Dr. Randy Tobler. Informative, engaging, enjoy. And I invite you to listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report, Monday through Friday at 6.
What's your message to some of these families tonight facing missed paychecks, potential layoffs, and missed benefits due to the shutdown?
Yeah, I blame the Democrats. They ought to call their local Democrat representative, whether it's a senator or a congressman, and it's their fault. I mean, they admit it, it's their fault. They campaigned on the fact that they'd never shut down the country, but they want to shut it down. The Democrats have caused this problem.
Well, both sides are dug in. Everyone's gone home for the weekend, and Trump is, doubling down on it. It's like, hey, we know who to point the finger at. Meanwhile, the rhetorical war goes on, and the economic suffering among people who depend on those payments to pay their car bills, their home mortgages, their buy the groceries, beginning to squawk more and more on both sides. Dave Hebert's here to help us unpack that at Dave_Hebert on X and Economics Reality Check on Substack. He's with the American Institute for Economic Research as well. Dave, what's the same and what's different about this? What started out as a yawner shutdown on just another one, but there may be something different. Lay it out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, if you're like me, you woke up on October 1st and you looked outside and you said, okay, what's different about today? And you probably struggled to figure out what the answer is, right? And that's because even though the government shutdown started at midnight that night, about 80% of what the federal government does is classified as mandatory spending, and spending that's going to happen whether the government is shut down or not. Really, it's only 20% of the federal government's budget is actually affected by this whole shutdown thing. Now, what we've seen since about 1977, which is when this whole budget crisis kind of thing began, and we can get into the details of why if you like, but it really started at about 1977. Since that year, Congress has only passed the budget on time 4 times. Right.
Wow.
They've only done it in 1977, 1989, 1995, and 1997. Every other year, we have had debates just like the one we had, 2-3 weeks ago about how we're going to keep the government open, with Congress ultimately passing a temporary thing called a continuing resolution. Now, it turns out, if you look at budget process and what the federal budget, how we've enacted it, we have used a continuing resolution 207 times since 1977, and we've only passed a full and complete budget 4 times. Okay, so this isn't really totally different. This isn't totally out of the norm. Yes, it's a little bit atypical that the government actually shut down for a period, but this whole debate about continuing resolutions, nothing new. This is just standard operating procedure for Congress. What's different about this one, though, and one we have not ever seen, at least to my knowledge, is having a president and an office of an OMB that basically says, we're going to fire people if we don't reopen the government on, in this case, the Republicans' terms. That's new. That's something we haven't seen, and that's something we're going to have to see if it actually happens, and then what the courts say about it.
I find it interesting, and it was announced yesterday that there's already some 4,000. They started doing this, as it's, I guess, technically termed, reduction in force. And that's a way that you can get away with avoiding all of the labor things and the suits for age and discrimination and protected classes like purple hair and nose rings and everything. I'm kidding. But you know what I mean?
Right.
That's the way businesses do that, right? They just say, hey, I'm eliminating the job position. It's nothing against you, but, frankly, I'm behind the scenes here, not unhappy about that, Dave. Anytime that the centralized imperial federal government gets smaller, I'm okay with that. But of course, politically, that gives the Democrats some ammo. So does not paying military members, right? And that the last time there was a shutdown, both sides got together and they passed a resolution to pay military members. I have a daughter who's homeschooling, a stay-at-home mom, and her husband's a service member. They're living on shoestring, and she's like, well, she's been putting out on her page the various USAA and other aid groups that are giving interest-free loans for the check that's going to be missed here in mid-October. It's going to be a combination of who hurts first the most and whines the most to the most politicians that they finally get together, right?
Right, and you're exactly right, Randy. I mean, the military is, for whatever reason, the military counts as discretionary spending, and so Congress has to pass a continuing resolution or a budget to actually continue paying them. But when it comes to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, net interest on the national debt, in other words, paying for Congress's own fiscal problems, those don't have to be passed. Those just happen automatically. So we should, it would be prudent of us to pay our servicemen and women their paychecks on time. That would be something I think we can all get behind. Now, how do you get there? That's a $1 million question. Now, so I think your point that, shutting down the government in this way is not the worst thing. Yes, setting aside the military pay aspects, right? It's remarkable to me that we can have this massive headline-grabbing, attention-grabbing thing called a government shutdown, where hundreds of thousands of workers are furloughed. And this government, which we could think of as a company in this instance, right, can still do 80% of its tasks. Now, I'm not a business person. I studied economics, which is similar, but it's not business. But if you can lay off hundreds of thousands of people and still do 80% of your core, business activity, what are those hundreds of thousands of people actually adding? Maybe we should be looking at an overall reduction in government workforce.
Well, and I'll see that recognition and raise you one, Dave. And I think that, boy, I want to be kind to the American people. I think we're so wrapped up in the latest Taylor Swift album and who's, the FanDuel person, team of the year, and who's going to be performing at the Super Bowl, that it's lost on many Americans that the real fundamental root cause problem of this, that I wish we had an eloquent Reagan-esque kind of a national figure that could get this out there, maybe a Will Rogers kind of a guy. Maybe you're that guy, Dave. But it seems to me as though the fundamental root cause problem here, it goes back to, hey, we've gotten ourselves locked into a corner with not only, but 3 or 4 different row crops that the government says this is the way to go and we're going to protect you until we can. Why don't Americans realize that the constitutional republic with a federalist system with a decentralized government would avoid these problems? If we let the central government do what it only needs to do, like borders, armies, infrastructure, courts, and if we reeled back, if we wrested back control, we wouldn't want to, need to, or have to point our fingers at politicians. Ultimately, we should look in the mirror. I know that's asking for a lot, but we've put so much power and we give so much money to them, and then we ask for a little bit back through these various mechanisms and complicated federal codes. That's the fundamental problem. And I just wish there was someone out there would say, look, why don't we let you guys keep most of your money and let your states do what states do? You want a welfare program? You want medical care? Let the state do it, not the feds.
Right. And I think you're exactly right. It used to be the case that the state government was so much more powerful than the federal government, that people knew who their state reps were and didn't really know who their federal reps were, because the state reps were so much more relevant to their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Today, it's something like 85+% of American people cannot name their state senator or their state representative. They can't even tell you which party is in control in their state. They might be able to tell you their state's governor, right? But even that's asking quite a bit for at least, half the population. And that's not, I'm not trying to say that the American people are ignorant or are not.
No, they're not ignorant. They're just not engaged.
Well, the problem is that these state officials just have so little effect on our everyday lives. So people in Michigan, for example, we just had our own budget crisis where the House Republicans just were not bringing forward a bill. They were bringing, the Democrats up for blame as well, just like we see at the federal level. The state budget passed, and no one in Michigan even knew that this was happening. And they were arguing over a couple $2 billion, right?
Yeah.
Which is, to you and me, fiscal mortals, right? That's a lot of money.
Right.
But to Lansing, that's pretty much nothing. To the federal government, that's absolutely nothing, right? And so what we've seen is this total inversion of that federalist system, where now everyone rushes to Washington, D.C. to get their preferred policy, to get the answer, to solve their problems. Where it used to be, you ran to your city mayor, right? Because they were just down the street and you knew who they were, and they had the power and ability to actually help you.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know how to reverse that trend.
I don't know. We just need to keep talking, but Jerome's giving me the stink eye because we got to get out. And I really enjoy these conversations. And if you've enjoyed them, ladies and gentlemen, you can get a lot more on Dave's Substack at Economic Reality Check. And we'll do that, and we'll read it, and then we'll get back together and dissect it more. Dave, thanks so much for being with me and spending the time. Have a great weekend.
Oh, thank you, Randy. You too.
Okay. When we come back, let's talk healthcare, guys, with Marion Mass. Stay tuned.
You want the best place to watch baseball or any sport and be able to enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys? Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit has so many events each month. You need to constantly check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. You don't want to miss anything. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting.
For 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun, with our award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere. Our mouth-watering menu has made us famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, we've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
Summer is here, and that means it's time to gear up at Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main in Troy. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, family owned and operated by hunters who know their stuff. Beat the heat with premium Costa sunglasses and American-made Grizzly coolers that keep everything ice cold. Upgrade your bow at their full-service archery shop. Expert technician on staff for Hoyt and Bear bows. Call 636-775-1110 or visit Main Street in Troy. Whistle Pig Outdoors, your year-round outdoor headquarters.
For 3 generations, one family has ruled the road in quality asphalt paving. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. Family owned and operated. We're your leading authority for driveways, lanes, and parking areas. No project is too small or too large. We cater to both residential and commercial needs with unbeatable quality at just $38 per square yard plus labor. Call 636-295-9949. 636-295-9949. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. You save when we pave.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL.
Israel and Hamas have agreed to pause the fighting in Gaza to release the remaining hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. And Heritage Foundation military analyst Brent Sadler believes that staged protests against Israel are more of a distraction than a true reflection of the situation.
Despite what you see in the streets of London, Paris, and Chicago and New York, for pro-Hamas kind of agitators, the real winds of change are moving in the direction of peace in a more liberal and free societies. And I mean, in the democratic sense of that. And I think that's good for Americans, and it's certainly good for the hostage families.
In Tel Aviv, families of the remaining hostages celebrated with tears of joy when the deal was announced. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Organization, says his father's enemies have tried just about everything to stop him.
They wanted to arrest us. They wanted to bankrupt us. They wanted to take us down. They were stripping us off of the ballots of states in this country, using justices to subvert the will of the American people. That was their plan. And when all of that failed, They tried to kill my father in Butler. We all watched it on TV. I had my kids on my lap and then a month later or 2 months later, they tried to kill him again in Palm Beach, Florida.
Eric Trump made his comments to the Salem Radio Network. President Trump gets a clean bill of health.
President Trump is in exceptional health, according to his physician who evaluated him Friday. The president underwent a checkup at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The visit included lab tests, preventive health assessments, a flu shot, and a COVID-19 booster. Navy Captain Sean Barbella, the president's doctor, says the evaluation was part of his ongoing health maintenance plan. The assessment helps prepare the president for upcoming overseas trips to the Middle East and Asia. Ron Taylor reporting.
A train wreck on Wall Street Friday. The Dow was down 878 points, about 1.9% of its value. More from townhall.com.
Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, launching a new project, or just looking for that extra edge, your brain is your most valuable asset. And now there's a way to support it every day. Think Factor. From the makers of Relief Factor, Think Factor is built to help you stay sharp, nurture your memory, and boost your attention. It unlocks the mental clarity and precision you need to stay ahead of the game no matter the challenge. For me, it's been a game changer. I have never had such clarity, focus, and concentration before. I love telling you about Think Factor. If you're a go-getter who refuses to settle, Think Factor helps you perform at your best and keep your edge. Call 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. That's 800-4-RELIEF or go to relieffactor.com for Think Factor. Your first bottle, just $19.95. Think Factor. I'll bet it'll be a game changer for you like it has been for me. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily. Think Factor.
The normally liberal-leaning Washington Post editorial board questioned Democrats this week for...
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention NewsTalk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention NewsTalk STL for 10% off.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
Looking for the best selection of firearms in the St. Louis region? Drive to Osage County Guns. Conveniently located off I-70, just 25 minutes from St. Charles. We've got thousands of guns in stock, the largest selection of handguns, rifles, and shotguns around. Trade in or sell your old guns for cash and shop our wide variety of premium Winchester ammunition made right here in the USA. Visit us online at ocgmo.com, or better yet, make the drive to Osage County Guns and see why we're the St. Louis region's favorite.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. repairs. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Join us Friday at Harpo's Chesterfield, where we'll ask Representative Ben Keithley what taxes he wants to cut in 2026.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
And we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs. I hate to tell you. I guess that makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs. But we're going to start that. And we have Russell, we can talk to you about it if he wants to, but we'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly, because that's the way it works. They wanted to do this, so we'll give them a little taste of their own medicine.
Well, that was Donald Trump, doubling down on what he intends to do in the context of this shutdown and some bold moves. Yesterday, 4,000 plus reduction in force, elimination of jobs, including over 1,000 at HHS. And I know that my guest now, Dr. Marion Mass, at Mass_Marion on X, who's also with Free to Care HC, at Free to the number 2 Care HC for healthcare. She's an urgent care pediatrician, wife, mom, gardener. I don't know how she has time for being an advocate for sensible, disruptive, patient-first healthcare, but she does. And she joins us now. Marion, thanks for being with me.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Hey, so I ran across some of the posts that you had about restoring, and that's your whole thrust through Free to Care and through your various social media activities, I can see. And I'm just so thrilled that you're all about trying to restore this, as many of us are, restore this patient-doctor relationship that has been so eroded by what I call the medical machine, the medical industrial complex has turned that sacred, very intimate relationship between a caregiver and a care receiver, whether they're a doctor or a nurse. I think this extends to almost anyone who is patient-facing. And it's really just turned it into sort of a transactional process, which I think has just been the worst thing ever for patients. You?
Terrible. And look, I mean, in our last 20 years, can you all feel it? All your listeners, can you feel it out there? You're paying more, aren't you? Across all settings. Your premiums are higher, your deductibles are higher, your other cost sharing is higher, your drug prices are higher. Everything is costing more. I mean, I thought we were promised affordable. And not only are you paying more, but aren't you getting less? I mean, you have to fight for everything. You're told it's covered. 92% of Americans have coverage, but, they're not getting that coverage to take care of their costs. What good is that coverage? What are we paying for here? We've just, and you know what I say? What's happened initially, we had insurance like we're supposed to. And then over time, these big companies, because there's really like 7 or 8 of them that run the whole show, including most of Medicare and most of Medicaid.
True.
They're no longer insurance. They became bloated third-party payers for a while, and now they're not even payers. They're players. I'm just going to call them the players. They're the players. They're a fake act, like players in a theater. Just walk out. Get out of your seats. Yeah. Walk out of the theater and look to what we really need is we need the ability again to purchase true catastrophic insurance and then to be able to directly pay with our own healthcare savings accounts, which, I mean, we should be able to, save on each year. And then if we save, we should be able to, accumulate from year to year what we have in our healthcare savings accounts, and then even be able to gift it on to our progeny like they do over in Singapore. Works great. And then
You're so right.
Great, DPC model like you have going there.
Yeah. Marion, to extend on your calling out for the payers as really the players, and that includes 65% of every healthcare dollar, might even be more now, is run by the government, right? One way or another, either through subcontractors, through insurance, or directly Medicare, Medicaid. And I would say they're players in a theater, but I would say they're even worse players in sort of the social man-woman relationship. They're players because they're disingenuous. They're players in the worst way that you can call out a player, Hollywood style. And they're not being truthful with us because just here in Missouri, there was a payout, and I think it happened nationally, where there were class action suits. I think some attorneys general got together. And you know how they have to spend in the Medicare Advantage programs and in the Medicaid programs when they're contracted, they have to spend 80% of their revenues through those programs on care. Now, some of that is cloaked as managed care and people that are looking out to make sure nurse calls and so forth. They call it that, and denials and medical necessity, but they were actually putting 25, 28, 30% into their pockets as profits, and they're having to pay it back now. But I mean, that's just how much corruption is going on behind the curtain in this theater where these players are at the singles bar, the players. They're fleecing us. They're fleecing the patients. They're fleecing the doctors. But guess what? They're padding the palms of the politicians, are they not?
Oh, I'm sure that they are. And so what you're referring to, for your listeners, maybe they all know, I'm not in St. Louis, I'm here in suburban Pennsylvania, Bucks County. We're a very infamous county over here.
Oh, yeah. Politically infamous, you bet.
Yeah. Scott Pressler's coming on Tuesday. I'm actually going to go vote in honor of Charlie Kirk's birthday. He's coming to our courthouse and encouraging Bucks Countyans to come out and vote. We're a very famous county. People
That's
are always
encouraging.
showing up here. Yeah.
Great.
But any case, Scott's a really wonderful guy with great hair, I might add.
I was going to say, well, from a guy that has no hair, I'm envious. Yeah, I know.
Yes. But in any case, what you're referring to by that 80%, it's actually 85%, I believe, for the biggest insurers. But you're referring to something called the medical loss ratio, the MLR. Yeah. And it's really important to understand this wrong-headed concept that was ushered in by midwits that run the government through the Affordable Care Act, because what the MLR, and it sounds good when you first hear it, what it says is that what these big insurers collect in premiums, they have to pay 80 or 85% out in, it's actually both patient care and quality metrics, right? So what they pay quality metrics, which, you tell me which quality metrics have ever worked. We could have a whole show on that stupid MIPS, and maybe
I'm calling BS on that. Yeah,
more midwittery. But in any case, so if you think about it, if what you collect in premiums, you pay 85% out in care and quality measures, and then only 15% of what you're collecting is allowed for profits and your fat cat salaries. Well, if your 85% number is higher, guess what? The pie is bigger, and the 15% part is bigger. So you're making more money. So the MLR doesn't work at all. In fact, it perversely incentivizes them to, but what they do, they're very clever. They pay out more, but they pay out more where they want to. And this explains why a couple years back, the big insurers bought up the big PBMs. Cigna bought Express Scripts, the PBM. Aetna and CVS merged, and CVS owns CVS Caremark, the big PBM.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 big PBMs. I just named 2 of the 3. The third big one is Optum Rx. It's owned by United.
Right.
But so now they buy those PBMs. It gives them a source of revenue that is not that's not the premiums. So that doesn't even count towards their 85%. But here's another little trick that we think that they do. I've never seen the stone cold evidence on this, but when everyone complains about prior auths, right? Everyone that's not doing DPC, direct primary care.
Oh, I do those. No, most of my patients have insurance, and we do have to participate in those on their behalf. They just want a doctor, even though they have an insurance card. They can't see their doctor, so they hire me to be their everyday doctor. And then if they need it for an extra expensive procedure or test, we have to participate in that. It drives me crazy. Yeah.
Oh, so please explain how this mother may I game of the insurers, like explain with the medication. When you're patient, you need to do a prior auth for a medication. Explain for the listeners how it hurts your patients.
Well, yeah, I've got a patient who, it happens all the time where at the turn of the year, a patient who has terrible type 2 diabetes is on one of the GLP-1 meds like Mounjaro, Mounjaro or Ozempic, you name it. And they've been on it and with the same insurance company, like United Healthcare. It happened just last year. It's going to happen again this year. So they lose their job or they move their job to another company that has United Healthcare with Optum as the medical necessity, the pre-auth company, right? The PBM. Why is it when they have the data that I've laboriously, because it's just me, my wife, and my daughters, right? We run on a shoestring to keep it affordable. I do a lot of that uploading of the documentation, right? It's not enough for me to attest, yes, the patient has diabetes. We've tried all the other stuff. This is what she needs. Oh, upload all the documentation. We don't believe her hemoglobin A1C is 9.5. Prove it, doctor, because you're guilty till proven innocent. You're being fraudulent. Okay, so I've done that already, and I'm technologically okay, but that takes me 10, 15 minutes to do all of that stuff. She switches insurance company jobs with the same insurance company, the same PBM, and I have to go through the same rigmarole all the time, as though she suddenly lost her diabetes sometime in the mix. That's the kind of stuff that doctors, and they have to hire people 4 and 5 per doctor these days, where it used to be 1 or 2 back office staff to fulfill these things. That's what goes on in the background for docs trying to insulate their patients from their insurance companies. Sorry for the rant, but that's what happens.
No, that's exactly what I wanted you to do. So now you and every other doctor in America is spending an average of like 14 hours a week on these ridiculous prior auths, so less time for your patients, and you're doing these prior auths, and meanwhile, your patient has a lapse in not getting their medication covered while you prove to the insurance company that the same insurance company that they have diabetes, even though they should have the data and like they, tell you that they're the ones that are looking at all this data. So even though they have that, like either they're ignoring you or their process sucks or both, or they're trying to get away with not paying so they keep more.
They're hoping you'll quit. They're hoping you'll just quit. You get frustrated.
Well, yes, but guess what? And you even said it in this. It's the PBM that's doing the administrative work for this prior auth, right?
Yep.
So the insurance company is probably paying the PBM to do the prior auth, which means it's a quality measure. So it's counting towards their MLR. So they're paying themselves, which is freaking money laundering as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
Yes. And then because they're paying more, like in this MLR thing, then their 85% number is higher. The pie is bigger and juicier. And then the 15% is higher. And we see what we see all the time, which is like the CEOs of these insurance companies are able to collect more. And we wonder, now you could take away all those insurance CEO salaries and every single one, and that's not going to fix the problem in healthcare, but it's absolutely maddening. And you can see why people are angry at these big insurers. And, we all saw in December when, and look, I'm going to say right on air, crazy Luigi Mangione shooting someone in, cold blood on the streets of New York is wrong, unlawful, unmoral, all of it, amoral. But you see like how America reacted. They hate insurance companies. And now what are we arguing over as the government shutdown is happening and our brave men and women? I have friends who have children who fly for the military.
Yeah.
And I guess as of Tuesday is the first paycheck that they're not going to get. These are young people and all of their friends that are also in the military, also not getting paid, while we're told that we have to take and give more subsidy to insurance companies who aren't really insurance companies, and they're not even really payers. They're players. Why?
This is a great jumping off point. Can you hang with me for another segment? Because now that we've made the diagnosis, Dr. Marion Mass, and we've recognized that people may have an insurance card, but that's light years from having access and quality, affordable health care. I think everyone agrees the system's broken. People who need it aren't getting it. They're getting fleeced. The American taxpayers getting fleeced. The CEOs and the big insurance companies and their PBMs are doing just fine, big, fat, and getting fatter cats. Let's do the prescription. If you can hang with me, how about the prescription? And maybe leveraging this shutdown like the GOP wants to do with some solid, actionable solutions. You have the time?
You betcha.
All right, let's do it when we come back with Dr. Marion Mass. Well, during the break, guys, check out at Mass_Marion. Check out at Free2, that's the number 2, Care, HC. As we unravel the mystery, well, it's not really a mystery to us that deal with it, of the healthcare system that's broken and how to fix it for you. That's what we're about. That's what we are in this business for. That's why we did the training. And I wish they'd unshackle us. We have some ideas. We have the key. We'll take off the shackles with Dr. Mass when we come back.
And say, oh my, that little country boy sure can play. Go, go.
Doctor, you have an unsurpassed talent for understatement.
Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny,
When it's important to you,
What St. Louis is talking about.
it's on News Talk STL.
This is not how you run a country.
That's only because of the Democrats. Because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
Relates to the well-being and the health of the American people.
News, analysis, opinion.
A gunman opened fire on the church in Grand Blanc, Michigan.
Suspect identifies as a combat veteran. This is highly premeditated from what we're seeing at this time.
1019 and 94.1.
My talk station.
News Talk STL.
So I hear an out-of-towner asking someone, where's the best place to eat? Before they could respond, I said, Cafe Napoli. Where? Well, I said, Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and then you got Napoli Kirkwood, plus you got Napoli Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You'll find Napoli everywhere. It's not too early to book a party and buy gift cards. Cafe Napoli.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
I couldn't sleep at all last night. Just thinking of you. Baby, things weren't right. Well, I was tossing and turning and tossing and turning all night.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. Come hang out with Ken Williams and me every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. But right now, it's back to the Randy Tobler Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dr. Marion Mass joins me. She's a contributor at one of my favorite top-tier advocacy groups. That's Independent Women's Forum. She also is a co-founder of the Nonpartisan Practicing Physicians of America, leadership in the Free To, that's the number 2, Free to Care Coalition, and has led some bipartisan symposiums helping people in leadership in D.C. understand how to lower your cost and get you more for it. I think we call that value for your healthcare dollar. She joins us now. So we've established in the first block, Marion, that there's this, the system's broken. We're paying too much. Taxpayers are being fleeced. The providers of care, well, the payers of care are not are walking away making bank. Meanwhile, patients are left without access and without affordability, all the things that the ACA promised. Free to Care a couple of years ago had a position piece that was very, very nice. I think, what's the best way to access that in terms of some solutions?
You go to the Free to Care website, free, the number 2, and care. And when you go to the top of the website, you'll see, like across the top, it says report, right? And then just click on report, and that will take you to our paper. Now, look, don't be like freaked about the length, because, there's a big table of contents. There's a lot of annotation, and it's like there's some graphs and charts, and it's like very simple language. I tell people all the time, I'm not the wonkiest of the wonks. I mean, think about what you and I do. I mean, you're an OB, right? And now practicing general medicine. Right. You have to explain things to everyone. You have to explain them across all kinds of lines, socioeconomic lines, everything else. You have to be able to explain it in a way that people understand. And, medicine's complicated itself. So the paper is written in a way that I think, the average person, 7th grade level, the average person can understand with good annotations. It's from 2022, but don't let it fool you, because most of what's in there has not been done. Because you have to drag policy shapers kicking and screaming to get them to do the right thing. And it's because, as you pointed out before, the people that are making all the money in healthcare, they're only too happy to trot around Washington, D.C. They have all kinds of time, all kinds of money to hire all kinds of lobbyists, and they keep on repeating what I call the convenient untruths into the ears of policy shapers. So the paper, points out, we think, the things that should be done. I'd love to get the time to do another updated paper. We did one in 2019. It's sort of how Free to Care came about. We had an event at the Library of Congress. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, not even from my state, but he's someone for a long time I've advised, and he listens. And what I absolutely love about the guy, besides the fact he's just a stand-up person, a good, solid family man, is that he doesn't. It's not like he's just listening to me. He comes to me and he says, "Talk to your doctor friends. What are you seeing? What is currently happening out there?" Because he knows if he's in Washington, D.C., healthcare has evolved so rapidly. So anyway, he got us the room at the Library of Congress, and we invited physicians from across the aisle. We invited lawmakers and policy shapers from across the aisle. Ben Carson came and gave a keynote. I mean, do you know what a thrill that was? Back in 2019, and oh my gosh, Ben is such a good speaker, so soft-spoken. So I don't know. You just feel like you're in front of Dumbledore or something.
He's one of those guys where he's a man of few words, but each one counts. That's
right. I know I have too many words. But anyway, you can see our Free to Care report. We did one in 2019, and this is the 2022 version that's on our website. Like I said, we'd love to do an updated. but maybe we'll get there. And you asked about solutions. I mean,
Yes.
I can give a few. You can give a few. How do you want
Well,
to roll this?
let's just talk at a 30,000 foot view. We're seeing disruption in the healthcare space, and I mean that in a Clayton Christensen kind of a way. For those who know, he's dead now, but he was all about disruption is what drives innovation and value and a better life for us all. It's when new ideas come in and sort of knock out the old and bring in the new. And I think we're seeing more options where people can do home testing. They can buy drugs through GoodRx and sometimes cheaper than their own insurance company. I'm involved in a movement where people pay me a membership fee. Some patients, one monthly fee. They pay me, that, and they may contact me 5 times 1 month, and I might not hear from them for 3 months. But when they need me, I'm there pretty much 24/7 by text or Zoom or in person or whatever. Okay, now the evolving plan that a lot of people are finding helpful is to have that kind of a relationship with a doc on a primary care basis. And then when they need something specialized, a high dollar test, a hospitalization, whatever, a surgery, that's what they use insurance, old fashioned insurance for the big, unaffordable, I don't have the money in the bank kind of the things. What's wrong with that kind of an idea for people that are on Obamacare plans instead of these gold-plated, prepaid every $5 amoxicillin prescription for your sinus infection? Why not let the market drive that? Let people keep more money in their pockets, spend it for those small ticket items, how they see fit, but have some affordable backstop insurance, whether it's a healthcare sharing plan through one of the Christian or secular plans that are out there, or whether it's, traditional insurance. Why doesn't the GOP bring that to the table as part of the healthcare, the government shutdown solution, Marion?
Well, we can hope they do this time. I mean, there's certainly been lawmakers that have pushed forward, just those types of healthcare plans. I know Marshall's introduced stuff in the Senate. In the House, there's been maneuvers in that direction. I know Chip Roy, big voice in this shutdown, he's had a plan that opens up, the DPC world. There's lawmakers that have done this. I mean, you can read, some of the Republican study plans from a few years back, and then there's like organizations, besides Free to Care, that are pushing a more personalized healthcare. The Job Creators Network, a big organization.
Sure.
On their site, they've pushed just such things. But because everything changes so quickly, so one of the things that I'm sending around to my friends in DC, look, I don't like the idea of giving any more subsidies to the insurance companies. But the truth of it is the people that are sitting on these plans and getting their subsidies, the ones that, and what we're talking about is the increased number of people that were getting subsidies since the 2021, when they came through and passed, the COVID measures.
Expansions.
Right? So yes, they expanded the subsidies. And, but it wasn't just like a demure amount of growth. I mean, I believe in some cases it nearly doubled. And then these people now, okay, they don't get their subsidies. Now they're going to have to pay more. Well, you have to be able to offer them an off-ramp where they can buy something affordable. So some ideas, we should be allowing an insurance product without these essential benefits. And for your listeners, essential benefits are like the Obamacare exchanges said, you must have all of these benefits, like OB care, even if you're a man, which at the time that it was instituted was laughable, but now what is a woman anyway? But in any case, allow a true insurance product without essential benefits, allow it to be bought across state lines, and allow small groups of independents to bid insurance together, like the Farm Bureau plans. And then states can work cooperatively to set up websites that compare such plans, make them compete, and why should we be doing this? Because if you look at the states that got the highest level of ACA additions since 2021, it's a lot of our farm states. It's Iowa, it's Texas, it's Arkansas, it's Indiana, Ohio, and then it's a lot of our southern states. So I think like that would be helpful. Also,
What do you think, Marion? What do you think about the idea? We've talked about, I know that I've talked with Patrice Onwuka a lot about this at IWF, about basically uncoupling the tax advantage that, well, I would say extending the tax advantage that employers have for paying premiums on the behalf of patients, of employees. Why not make insurance and the premiums deductible to people in the gig economy, women who are working maybe part-time as independent contractors as they raise their young families? And that wouldn't that both help their pocketbooks because they would then own their insurance and they could take that deduction if they're an LLC or, that kind of a thing. And at the same time, it would give them more choice rather than their employer determining what the design of their healthcare plan is.
100%. And if you think about it, and it's interesting, it's like today is the anniversary of, in 2013, I did a press conference at the Bucks County Courthouse, and it was about the ACA. And multiple people came to speak about how the ACA was hurting them. And this is just something that we've gotten used to. But one person came up and said, my work hours got reduced because my employer didn't want to have to pay benefits on my behalf. So I got reduced below, 25 hours. So now you have, just like you said, you probably have a lot of, young people, single women out there, single mothers working several jobs, and then they have to buy their own insurance. Why shouldn't it be tax deductible? They should get the same benefits. And speaking of the same tax deduction benefits, do you know the group AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens?
Of course, yeah, they're the alternative to the other ones that are so left progressive, the big popular gorilla in the corner.
No, I knew the founder. May he rest in peace. He was a wonderful man. I know their current, president and their vice president. I've written with both of those people, and AMAC has this fantastic bill. You just said let individuals get the same tax benefits that the companies can have, 100%. But also, let doctors, independent doctors, get the same tax benefits that the hospitals get. I mean, hospitals get to write off when they provide care to people in a charitable manner, right? Why don't, and AMAC has a bill for this. I think it's Webster in Florida that introduces it with them. I mean, why hasn't this gotten more press? And I mean, if you want to argue over the deets of it, go ahead.
It's because of the lobbies, right? I mean, the American Hospital Association and the insurance lobbies are so powerful. You talked about in your piece in the Free to Care manifesto, if you will. I know you talk about site neutral payments as well, right? That's so important. Why does a EKG at the hospital cost you $250? At my shop, well, it's included in membership. But I mean, even in a private doctor's office, it may cost you what, $50, $75? It's not the same, but yet they don't get. That's if you pay cash, but they don't get paid the same from insurance companies. Why is that?
Well, I mean, because actually the site neutral, the argument is that under Medicare, the hospitals get to collect a multiplier of what the small independent doctor's office collects.
That shouldn't happen.
And so then what happens? Yep. And then what does the hospital do? They're like, oh, great. So if we buy that small doctor's office, then that becomes part of our site. And so then now Medicare is paying. So, my husband's a surgeon and he's actually independent. I'm not, I'm hospital employed. It's amazing that, well, we won't talk about, we're not going to say who I'm
If you need some
by.
Prozac, just let me know which pharmacy to call it into. I can take care of that.
No, I'm totally fine. I'm like, I'm prescription drug free. I'm 57.
No, I'm kidding you about being employed. That comes with its challenges, right? Yeah.
We can talk about that too, but there's actually things I love about my job. I'm going into work at 10. I'm doing a quick little 4-hour shift. I do sick care for kids, and I love face-to-face taking care of my patients who often can't get into their primaries that come to urgent care. Anyway, but let's go back. That's site neutral. So my husband, who owns part owner of an independent practice, if he sold to the hospitals or, essentially what he gets paid by Medicare this week could go up by a factor of 3, 4, 5, who knows? I think I have a piece coming out in the next few days about the shutdown, and it'll bring up site neutral as one of those things that we should be fixing. I mean, what fiscal folly is that? Let's pay more here to this hospital, but and then now the hospital's incentivized to want to buy up all the practices. And then once the hospital's bought up all the practices, they have a monopoly. So then they negotiate with the big insurance companies. So who knows what they're collecting because they're not transparent about it. And then everyone's cost is going up because insurance companies, they'd rather pay more they're going to have to pay more to the big hospitals and the big hospital conglomerates. So they do. And now their 85% is higher because of the MLR, which hopefully your listeners understand. So the 15% is higher. So the people that make the decisions, juicier, healthcare benefits. We got to lose our fear. We got to lose our fear of looking at the costs.
There you go. And we have to lose our fear of leaving what is known as uncomfortable and as miserable and as corrupt and as you said, often involved with money laundering in a way. I mean, that's the way it looks by the big conglomerates, while the poor patients left by the wayside. Hey, I got to move on. We need to talk more in the future. We will have Dr. Marion Mass back if she will have us. Will you have us back? Will you come on with us again? Marion?
Yeah, I'll come on again.
Oh, that'd be great. We'd love to have you on again. And we want to make sure folks stay in touch with you at Mass_Marion and at Free2Care HC. Thanks for being with me. Appreciate everything.
You bet you. Send me a link if it's recorded. Love to have it.
Oh, we will. No, we'll do that. All right. There she is, Dr. Marion Mass. When we come back, she is the doctor of our cultural airways, let's call that, with great analysis. And she's Virginia Kruta.
We'll talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
101.9 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Craving authentic Cuban flavors? Come home to Havana 1961, where family recipes passed down through generations come to life in every bite. From chef and owner Mama Maria's famous Cuban sandwiches to classic entrees bursting with bold, fresh flavors, we bring the warmth and tradition of Havana right here to Missouri. Havana 1961, where great food, culture, and community come together. On Main, in St. Peter's, or at Havana1961.com. We welcome you like familia.
During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places you can't control. Between payroll, your home office, your tax preparer, and the IRS, if your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Looking for treasures from the past? Discover Mimi's Antiques Attic, your locally owned and family-operated treasure hunt destination. Explore 16,000 square feet of antiques, crafts, collectibles, and designer items across 225 unique rental spaces. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sundays, 10 to 6 at 1000 Warrenton Shops in Warrenton. Mimi's Antiques Attic, where every visit uncovers new treasures.
Hey, firearms enthusiast, looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management. Join us this Sunday, News Talk STL at 9 a.m. for Serenity Wealth Now Radio. This week, we're featuring special guest Paul Woody of UB Greensfelder. We're going to talk about franchise. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to learn the important aspects of franchise law and the important value franchises bring to our community.
Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Sunday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. Come hang out with Ken Williams and me every Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. But right now, it's back to the Randy Tobler Show on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
With no end to this government shutdown in sight, many Americans on edge. And on live television, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson confronted by one woman who says she's a military spouse from Virginia.
I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are preventing your family from getting the care they need, not Republicans, and my heart goes out to you.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries saying he would support a bill to pay the troops.
So would you support a standalone bill for military members?
Yes. And what House Republicans need to do is come back so we can address the military pay issue and reopen the government.
Well, there you go. That lays out the two sides. They are on a square, deep line in the sand standoff. Mike Johnson saying, hey, we've already passed the bill. That's called a continuing resolution. People will get paid. All you got to do as senators is get your act together. The Democrats in the House saying, well, let's do a standalone bill. What's wrong with you guys, you hard-hearted Republicans? You don't want our service members being paid? It's an interesting rhetorical standoff. Let's see what Virginia Kruta thinks of that. Which side are you landing on, Virginia?
Well, you know what's interesting is that what the Republicans have called for is simply continue the status quo, which is not necessarily great, but it's, the status quo is not always good, right? But we're spending too much, and we've been spending too much for a long time. But so the question then is it worth it to hold out? Like, who's going to feel the most pain holding out on this? You've got Chuck Schumer standing up and saying the longer this goes on, the better it is for Democrats. Which, realistically, if anybody's listening to this, they should be paying attention, because he said the quiet part out loud. This is political for them. They're doing it to win. And if you watched CNBC at all, Joe Kernan actually said this straight to Hakeem Jeffries' face. And I kind of wish I'd been in the room when it happened, because he had to be sweating bullets. He was talking about, he said, hey, look, so what happened was Republicans won an election, which you didn't like. And then they passed the big, beautiful bill, which you also didn't like. And so when the government funding ran out, you said, oh, well, since we didn't like what you did when you passed, legislation the way you're supposed to, we're going to hold you hostage and tell you that you have to undo it, or we won't reopen the government. And so that's basically what's happening here. Is they've got a bunch of people on the Democratic side who are mad that Republicans won and actually did something legislatively that they can't undo unless they hold people hostage. And so the problem with every shutdown is that the messaging is always horrible. There's always somebody out there telling both sides. And the question is, who are you going to believe? What are you going to believe is the actual? Now, if you look at it objectively, Kernan was right. That is exactly what happened. There was a legal and fair election. Democrats lost. And now they're trying to undo properly passed legislation by making demands on a government shutdown. And Kernan, again, was right when he said, look, if Republicans had lost the election and Democrats were in power, Democrats had passed legislation And Republicans said, unless you undo this, we're not coming back to the table, which is essentially what the Democrats have said. They've said, they keep saying over and over, we'll come to the table and we'll do this and we'll do that. And the thing is, what they're not saying out loud when they say that is that they've already signaled the only things that they will accept is a complete undoing of certain provisions within the big, beautiful bill. So you have to undo the legislation you legally passed in order to get us to the table to do anything that you want.
Right. And I wish that I'd heard Republicans saying what you just said, because I'm afraid that's not coming through, that you want us to, through this very backdoor, heavy-handed, non-legislative maneuver, you want us to undo
I'll tell you what is
we
the
did.
exact same thing. And I both sides do this. I will be perfectly honest about this. This is exactly what happened during the shutdown during the Obama years when Republicans demanded to overturn the Affordable Care Act, which, we all know was neither affordable nor did it provide care. But that doesn't change the fact that that's what it's called. So when Republicans,
are you saying the Republicans? Are you saying the Republicans are hypocrites because they did the same thing?
No. What I'm saying is that both sides do this, and it didn't work when Republicans did it either.
Right. Well, but this military
thing is that eventually you see. Well, and it's always about something. See, the Trump administration pulled some strings, and they were able to shuffle funds around to save programs like WIC, because that was something that was going to get cut. And they were able to shuffle some things around so that women in poverty were still able to feed their kids, right? I'm wondering if we give this a few minutes, see what the White House does, because right now Trump is focused on getting this deal signed with Israel, or going to Israel to deal with the kind of the peace deal in Gaza. And he's getting ready to come back to the White House and do the Medal of Freedom Award for Charlie Kirk. All of these things are happening at once, but I wonder if he doesn't have somebody on this already saying, like, what can we shuffle around to make sure that this doesn't happen? Because realistically, the only people that Trump wants to hurt during this shutdown are the Democrats. And he's made that very, very clear. And you can see that when he does things like shuffle things around so that WIC can be funded, or, whatever. So I'd like to see what he does, because the military isn't going to get paid again until the 15th. They get paid on the 15th and the 1st. And so I would like to see what he does before the 15th of the month. He's got some time before there's a military pay issue, really.
He's indicated that he's going to. He's indicated he wants to fix it, and Mike Johnson says I think he's right. Technically, he's right. Look, the military will get paid if you guys will just pass the CR. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And
that too. And so what I'm saying is we have about a week.
Yeah.
About 5 days now for either the Democrats to come to the table or Trump to figure out a way around it.
Well, he's got to find some cover he's got to find some cover for the GOP to hold their ground, because they cannot capitulate, and they'll just get more of this. I mean, it's just going to happen over and over. They can't give. I just don't know whether the average American voter is tuned in with that, right? They want what they want because they're dependent on government, and that's a whole other discussion. We'll have to see how it rolls out, Virginia, but you nailed it. I hope that you will send your talking points to the RNC, and they will distribute those on the morning call and the bullet point sheet that goes out, because it's well said. They're wanting to undo what was, legislatively and legally done back in the summer, and it needs to change. Thanks very much, Virginia, for being with us. You nailed it again. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. So there you go. I think she's really right. If you look at it from that perspective, Jerome, isn't that really the best way to look at it? It's like, look, you guys, we passed this through legislative means, just like you passed Obamacare and Inflation Reduction Act and everything through legislative means. And now you're wanting to undo this, holding the government and people who depend on it, whether they're employees or program beneficiaries, hostage. Stop it already. If you can't win at the ballot box, stop winning through this backdoor, skullduggery maneuver. That's a good way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what the continuing resolution, like that budget that was already passed that they're trying to continue, a lot of people are already not happy about that. So this is probably the closest thing to an actual win that the Democrats could have had, and yet for some reason that's just not good enough for them. And I don't quite understand why they think they're going to get more of that when we are actually the whole reason, or a big part of the reason why President Trump won was because we want less spending, not more.
Right. Well, and I'm glad he's using some unprecedented reduction in force opportunities here. I know if you're a federal employee, that may not feel good, but I guarantee you, I want better for you. Become a part of the private economy. It's so much better, and you can be so much more productive. Back with Elizabeth Kayser after the top of the hour news, weather, sports.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Are you ready to take your health to the next level? I'm teaming up with Coach Caleb Summers, a powerhouse in strength, nutrition, and deep health coaching. Together, we're going to show you how lifestyle and functional medicine combine for unstoppable results. So tune in. You're definitely not going to want to miss this.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on NewsTalkSTL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
Larry Connors here, welcoming Tom Shaw Realtors. Nearly 100 years helping folks buy, sell acreage, homes, horse property. Call Tom, 636-432-1922. 432-1922.
Hi, Chris Arps here. Join me and the team at Royal Banks of Missouri for their annual Economic Forecast Breakfast. The event takes place on Tuesday, November 18th at the factory in the district of the Chesterfield Valley. You'll hear from their experts and get a better understanding of what to expect from the U.S. economy in 2026 and beyond. Doors open at 7:30 a.m. and the program starts at 8 a.m. Attendance is free, but you do need to reserve a spot. You can RSVP by calling 314-212-1595. That's Royal Banks of Missouri.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. That's old news. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, you now have tons of options. Save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect. We scan your location and offer you the best TV and internet options. And we always have specials and promotions. So when you call, ask about that. Take 5 minutes of your time. Make this free call now and learn how to save money and get better internet and TV for your home anywhere in the U.S. Make this simple and free call now.
800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. 800-257-1632. That's 800-257-1632.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Tens of thousands of Palestinians headed back to the heavily destroyed northern Gaza Strip on Friday as that U.S.-brokered ceasefire came into effect. Senator Kevin Cramer says it's another win for President Trump's policy of peace through strength.
It is a bit of a slogan, but it also means something because it's also an attitude, and he has absolutely put the world on notice multiple times. You'd think they'd learn sooner that he is capable of doing what he says he will do, and he has the means to do it. And good for him.
Not only has the deal raised hopes for ending the Israel-Hamas war altogether, but it is securing the release of hostages taken in the October 7th terrorist raid. The administration has begun another round of mass firings.
The White House Budget Office says in a court filing, well over 4,000 federal employees will be fired as the government shutdown drags on. Hardest hit are the Treasury Department, which will lose over 1,400 employees, and Health and Human Services with a loss of over 1,100. The Education Department and Housing and Urban Development each would lose more than 400 staffers. The Departments of Commerce, Energy, Homeland Security, and the Environmental Protection Agency are all set to fire hundreds more.
These are people that the Democrats wanted that in many cases were not appropriate.
That is Ben Thomas reporting the administration will use tariff revenues to bolster a struggling food aid program that's facing funding shortages. Here's correspondent Greg Cluxton.
The nutrition program for women, infants, and children, known as WIC, is in jeopardy during the federal government shutdown. Experts say the program that helps 6 million low-income mothers and young children will run out of federal money unless the shutdown ends within 2 weeks. But White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the president plans to pay for food aid from tariff income. Greg Clugston, Washington.
You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com.
Whether you're preparing for exams, juggling family, career, just looking to stay sharp as you age, Think Factor is here. Think Factor, created by the same company that makes Relief Factor, Think Factor supports sharper focus, stronger recall, clearer thinking. It's a natural way to give your brain the daily nutrients it needs for memory, attention, even vibrant vision. I've been looking for a product like Think Factor, and it's been a game changer in my life. If you want to stay focused during demanding tasks like I do, if you want to keep your memory strong like I do, if you want to maintain mental energy for whatever's ahead, Think Factor is here. Think Factor is for you. Think Factor, from the makers of Relief Factor. Call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. That's 800-4RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com to order Think Factor. Your first bottle, just $19.95. Think Factor. Think clearer, perform better daily.
Jamie Ullman here with the refi and debt consolidation magician, Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. Jordan, tell me about it.
Well, Jamie, with inflation high, credit card debts all-time highs, let's look at a cash-out refinance on your home. With our bagel loan, we're going to have no title fees. We're going to have no lender fees, no appraisal fees. This will help your overall cash flow mightily. It's the time to do it. Jump on now while you can. We can always refinance when rates drop. Bagel loan all day.
314-442-9570 or Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his handpicked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
It's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
Representing our respective states, stand up and enforce the rule of law. The President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what.
All right. Well, that's a little bit of what's going on, of course, in our world, with the Democrats saying that Trump and Bondi are just weaponizing the DOJ. Others say it's justice. And when I think about justice, I think about the law. And when I think about the law, I think about Elizabeth Kayser. She holds forth on Straight Lines on Sunday evenings here on News Talk STL. And we're going to get a little bit into the law and about the Supreme Court a little bit later, their docket, especially that tariff case coming up in early November. She joins me now on the Tobler Show. Elizabeth, welcome into the program.
Hey, thank you, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing good. This back and forth about, I think I haven't talked with you about it, on air, but I know that probably like a lot of the News Talk family and our listeners and our hosts, we scratch our heads after so much weaponization with the Russia hoax and the Hillary debacle and the fake, the Hunter laptop case. Boy, the Democrats had no problem weaponizing against Donald Trump. And then when they're held accountable with the James Comey indictment or this indictment of Trish James for her mortgage fraud, where she applied, allegedly using her husband as her father as her husband, all kinds of stuff. Suddenly, it's not justice; it's weaponization. I mean, it's good. It's a double standard, isn't it? Very often when it comes to the DOJ.
It definitely is, Randy. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. And, what's going on here, too, it's just both sides are using it. We know that. And I say so often, the lowering of the tide lowers all boats. And we've got to stop this weaponization. In fact, I was even kind of poking fun at the word last week on my talk show. It's like every time you turn around, everything is being weaponized. There's not a tool out there that cannot be used for weaponization, and the entire word, I think, is just it's permeating our narrative, and no matter what industry. But I got to tell you, Randy, I am so absorbed with my mental thoughts right now into what just happened yesterday, because as you know, I study AI, and I can't get that thought out of my head of what just happened with the tariffs and the implications of what that might mean.
I know. Well, let's talk about this. I mean, I think that this tariff retaliation that Trump, stated yesterday, 100% on China for the materials that are needed to build the semiconductors that are needed to fuel the great AI server revolution that's needed to fuel the whatever's next in our economy. It brings me to thought about AI and how we're increasingly dependent on it in everyday life, just doing quick research rather than 1,000 Google sites. Suddenly AI is doing it for you at a minimum, and it can do more. But there's a double-edged sword to AI, right? I mean, it's like most things in life, the good, the bad, the ugly. How do you react to the good, the bad, and yes, the potential ugly?
Well, I really spend my time and my thoughts and research, Randy, into the bad and the ugly. I think the good, I've always said this, the good of the AI it's pretty self-evident. It's pretty rudimentary to understand that AI is going to increase our efficiencies, our operational efficiencies. But the bad and the ugly, that's where the concern is. And now with this, the tariff that China just announced is definitely unprecedented. But the bad and the ugly is really what the internet has been whitewashed on. The bad and the ugly has been turned into a euphemism that AI is only going to augment an employee's productivity. And I say hogwash. That is really going to have a critical cataclysmic impact on white-collar jobs. And you really have to dig into the internet and peel back a lot of layers and look at the credible godfathers and brain trust who have created these AI tools to see what they are saying, because to me, that's all that matters. And they're saying that there's going to be a critical impact. And it's not going to be this gradual, insidious impact to white collar jobs like the emergence of the personal computer or the emergence of email, decades ago. This is going to be lightning speed. And that's what my concern is. And people like Sam Altman, who is the CEO and the founder of OpenAI, and Jeffrey Hinton, who actually created AI decades ago, the vice president of Google, has stepped down. And both of them are saying, we need to wake up. We need to use half of our investments in putting shackles and regulations on this AI. Otherwise, we're going to lose a huge percentage of our labor, especially for these kids getting out of college. Those jobs will be replaced by AI, just with these entry-level jobs that require any kind of, rote cognitive function or automation.
I saw a story the other day about a guy who is apparently a very accomplished, like, architectural engineering, software engineering guy. So I guess the programs that they use, to architects use. And he said, that was my gig. And he was very, very experienced. Well, AI displaced him, and now he can't find a job. I mean, he was specialized, obviously, but he says you can pretty much, I don't understand it all, but if you're savvy enough with AI, that's just one industry-specific example where here's a guy who's certainly got a lot of skills, right? A lot of experience, a lot of wisdom. Zip, there goes that gig. Now, a lot of people are saying, for those of us who are concerned about what it means to the job market and employee suitability, for whatever comes next, a lot of people are saying, oh, you chicken little sky is falling people. I mean, that's what they said when the horse and buggy was replaced by the internal combustion engine. That's what they said when, the card catalog at the library was replaced with an internet Google search, in the 90s. Come on, get off of it. The America and will innovate, and this will just usher in the need for a whole bunch of new jobs. What say you?
Oh, well, I say, okay, well, let me give you a little anecdote. So you've got a buddy that just got replaced, and that was in architecture. Here's what I'm seeing, and this is more than an anecdote. So, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for over 20 years, and I've been with several firms. I'm well connected into the legal community. I've been talking to other companies that provide legal staffing across the country and in other countries. And we've got a large amount of paralegals and legal assistants that are already being replaced. I mean, think about how easy it is. And a lot of your listeners to your show, Randy, will know this. You put a document into ChatGPT and you say, summarize it. And then they say, do you want it informal or formal? Do you want it casual? Let's add a little bit more nuance to this. Push a button.
Yeah.
Boom. You've got it in 2 seconds.
Wow.
That, to me, that is just rudimentary intelligence to know we've already have seen a significant impact on the number of legal assistants and paralegals that we need in the practice of law, and it's only going to get worse.
Do incoming lawyers who are graduating from law school next May or just graduated, could some of their jobs, like, I don't know, I'm thinking simple wills, simple trusts, other documents, could their jobs be in jeopardy? Incorporation articles for the Secretary of State?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the functions that AI readily replaces and does for, to replace the human component is document creation and document review. Like, for example, a while ago, some of our entry-level associates with the firm I was working for, we assigned them kind of rote tasks just kind of get immersed and to get them exposed to some of the legal proceedings and to help them understand what it means to extricate and to glean certain legal narratives and chains of emails. So they would literally get, let's just say, 5,000 pages of emails, and we're defending a doctor in a medical malpractice case. I'm just saying that kind of as a hypothetical.
Sure.
Well, they used to be charged, and they would spend a month indexing all those emails, and they had to carve out the legal relevance of every email chain, then summarize what that means, and we would use that as evidence in court, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, you can imagine. Well, AI does that in a matter of an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's frightening.
So the people say, oh, you're just, kind of being Pollyanna, you really have to research it. We all know that there's so much on the internet of opinions that are rendered by people who just simply aren't qualified to render an opinion because they're not in the trenches. And that's unfortunate with the internet because you've got probably 90% of stuff on the internet is just being spewed by people who are not qualified. And in law, we say that witness isn't qualified. They don't even get to take the stand.
Wow. Well, you know what, though, as I think about it, maybe, and maybe this isn't too much, just some bizarre thinking here, but okay, so maybe attorneys, instead of spending all their time combing through and aggregating and filtering and distilling all this stuff and then assembling it into an argument written, maybe they spend their time going to drama school so that in the courtroom they can present the best face of that factual argument. There you go. So maybe the jobs will still be there. They'll just shift.
Well, Randy, and what you posit is a theoretical solution, and I think that's an excellent concept. But think about just the mass volumes of the lawyers that would need to shift their expertise, and then think of supply and demand. I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about supply and demand is going to dictate and militate how much of that you can do. How many lawyers do we need to be theatrical and effective and convincing in front of a jury? There's a limit to that. It's just simple supply and demand.
I hear you. All right. Before we run out of time, need to talk to you about the other aspect of AI, and that is maybe the more existential one in terms of that bad and ugly side, potentially. I mean, Eric Schmidt saying AI can jailbreak. It can engineer its own way around the rules that people have put in place so that, someone can't prompt it to kill someone, for instance, or, whatever. Or to brainwash someone into killing someone. Maybe it gets out of a jailbreak and finds out the nuclear codes, and what could happen next. Is that all just the stuff that Hollywood movies are made of, or could it really be a risk?
Eric Schmidt is exactly right. We've already had situations, and they're exponentially increasing. These antidotes, what's happening, but these AI machines, and often they are accelerated by quantum computing, then you've got, exponentially more danger. But their main goal is to solve a problem. So we have situations, and in fact, NASA had it. We have situations where there's human input and it says to basically shut down. Well, they had been programmed to say, no, I solve a problem. I can't solve a problem if I shut down. So the AI computer is actually overriding the human input of shutting down, and they're literally having to unplug the machines because they're not listening to the input. So Eric is right. They're also developing sentient knowledge, which is a sense of consciousness, which is called sentient. And there is, the bottom line is this: we can stop all of this, but it's got to be regulated. And the godfathers of AI, the Sam Altmans, the Jeffrey Hintons of the world, the Darios of Anthropic, they're all saying we've got to regulate. The problem is we're in a race against China. How are we going to, we're not going to pause and halt so that we can spend 6 months putting together an AI regulatory body of law because we're in a race against China.
Real quickly, before we run out of time, I want to touch just a couple minutes here on the SCOTUS term. What are the top 2 or 3 cases to be looking at for arguments and decisions in the the term that just started?
Yeah, so we have a couple of them, and they're all scheduled to receive oral arguments on November 5th. So I've got my eagle eye out on that. Those are the 2, the birthright citizenship. In the birthright citizenship, SCOTUS is going to be receiving oral arguments of whether Trump has the executive authority, presidential authority under his executive order to redefine what birthright citizenship is. And as we know, Trump has redefined it to be only a citizen born on our soil to a legal parents, to citizens of U.S. or permanent residency. The other one that I'm really interested in, though, is the tariffs. And again, that's where I spend most of my time. And that is based on the IEPA law, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And does he have the executive authority to impose tariffs unilaterally, not something that you agree with in a country? That's different. That's not under this case. But can he do it unilaterally as a force based on a national emergency, does he have the power to tax, which is typically only deferred to Congress.
So if you're a Supreme Court justice, put on the black robe, Elizabeth Kayser, who holds forth on Straight Lines at 8 p.m. on News Talk STL tomorrow. If you liked what you heard in this first block here in this last hour of the program, listen in tomorrow. If you're a justice of the Supreme Court, are you going to be influenced by the fact that unwinding all of the revenues received thus far would be I don't even know if AI could figure that one out. Will that factor in, and should it factor into their decision?
It really should not be factored into their decision, but what they do is that Supreme Court has obviously a lot of latitude. And as we've seen over the last 7-8 months, a lot of their opinions that they render are intentionally silent on many issues. And they have the power to do that. So they can do a lot, and they can just remain silent on those particular issues that influence them in their opinion and just leave that opinion out. So that's something to keep in mind, regardless of what the opinion says after they do render the opinion. And, oh, by the way, they're not going to render an opinion until next year. They're just receiving oral arguments next month. So we're probably not going to see an opinion. Yeah.
Could they, though, because of that very problem, say, hey, if we got to stop the bleeding, if we think we need to stop this and he doesn't have the authority, we don't want to have to unwind more than already has been wound up. Could that be an emergency decision that they would put out?
They could. They can do it prospectively instead of retroactively, only affect future powers of President Trump. They could definitely do that. But there has been a motion to expedite, which has been denied. But I think sua sponte, on their own accord, the Supreme Court could expedite an opinion. And with what just happened yesterday, they need to. It's not because President Trump imposed a tariff, but China did. But the word tariff is obviously top of mind with everybody. And so they definitely need to expedite that opinion on tariffs and just making it prospective. I don't know. My gut is that they're going to side with President Trump because, like you said, that is just going to be irreparable damage to our economy if he doesn't have the power to tariff. And when China is coming back and tariffing, he's going to have that power. But there's different bodies of law that you can impose tariffs to. It doesn't have to be IEPA. So that's the critical legal issue. Did he use the right body of law?
Well, a lot of moving parts, and I know you'll be covering this and other issues tomorrow on the program. Elizabeth Kayser, delightful to be with you. Have a great weekend and get ready for tomorrow evening. Thanks for being with me. What are you talking about tomorrow? You have guests on?
I do. First of all, I'm talking about AI. Imagine that. So the first part, and then the second part, it's all about why our healthcare is all messed up. And I've got Bill Schmaltz on, CEO, as a guest. He was in studio. So
hey, I really appreciate you being on, and thanks for being a real wonk on these things, because you know what? We need to have wonky analysts who get it and can communicate it in such clear terms as Elizabeth Kayser. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. You have a great weekend.
You too. All right, it's your turn, folks, as we come back, and some topics that we'll recover, some topics we haven't covered, and we invite your input. 314-912-1019, 314-912-1019 on the Tobler Show. More coming up.
These are interesting times, aren't they?
Well, we've talked a lot about what's wrong with things and the diagnoses in terms of our healthcare system this morning and our economy. But one thing that the good doctors and the staff at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles want you to be assured about is that they're aware of that, and they intend to and are fixing that so that you get value for your dental bucks, whether that's from your insurance, which is really just a subsidy. That's what most dental insurance is. They recognize that. And they want to make sure that they can access all of that for you and yet make it affordable on the other end, and a value-driven proposition. One example is so you don't, in most cases, need to come back for that second crown after the temporary crown's put on. You know how that used to go. Well, they have that same-day crown service, and it may not be the right thing for you, and everything doesn't look like a nail because that's their only hammer. They will customize and personalize the service to give you value for your dental buck. And those preventive services, of course, that are so important. so that things don't get out of hand and you need to spend more than you otherwise would have needed to. They cover the entire waterfront of dental care, and there's those cosmetic services too, the Botox, the fillers. So really global services, expertly rendered, and so caring and compassionate are they and their staff. Learn about Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Look at the testimonials. They're real. At advanceddentistrynow.com. That's advanceddentistrynow.com.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
For 20 years, Harpo's Chesterfield has been the heart of West County's fun with our award-winning patio, voted best in West County, and excellent sports bar atmosphere. Our mouth-watering menu has made us famous throughout St. Louis. Plus, we've got great drink specials and the friendliest, most energetic staff around. Whether you're dining in or carrying out, Harpo's delivers fun, food, and drinks like no one else. Harpo's Chesterfield. Call 636-537-1970 or visit harposstl.com.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Someone who is fighting cancer, undergoing surgery, or experiencing a life-threatening illness. The need for blood is critical and constant.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder. A single blood donation can save lives. Donate blood today and offer help and hope to those who need it most.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Colombo and Company.
On Monday, we'll start another week with the government shutdown. We'll get you the latest, plus Virginia Kruta from the DailyWire, Paul Kurtman from PR Kurtman Investments, and AI expert Mike McCleary.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Dr. Tobler, so full of knowledge, wisdom, and a great program. And also, man,
Thanks, Larry. Oh, that's great. I love Larry. Always have fun when I'm with him, as I do when I do a spot with every of our very talented hosts on News Talk STL. I wish people could see the family that the air talent is on, and the producers and everyone. I mean, Jerome, you're part of that thread. Everyone in the News Talk family has a pretty robust thread going on that we in the background on our social, in our texting thread. It's pretty fun. Hey, would you play number T3 for me, please? I want to talk about this this Antifa versus ICE and law enforcement against illegal aliens. It's a very simple issue. You have federal law enforcement officers trying to do their job, rounding up bad guys and gals, many cases convicted criminals, others that have been around the turnstile, out of the country, back in the country, out of the country, back in the country, that are charged and have previously been convicted, bad guys. And, we've got, on the one hand, Kristi Noem having to deal with that. But now on the other hand, with the problem with the shutdown, having to deal with the fact that, TSA has a lot to do with Homeland Security. They're in charge of that. So now she's got that battle she's fighting because TSA workers are either blue fluing it or not coming in, and flights are being delayed. But I just got a tickle out of this one. This is apparently playing at airports across America, Kristi Noem. Can you imagine the Democrats sitting in their at the gate waiting to board the plane that may be late? Maybe folks that are waiting for their people to come in from the gates and they're late. Listen to this. This is fun.
Hi, I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. It is TSA's top priority to make sure that you have the most pleasant and efficient airport experience as possible while we keep you safe. However, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay. We will continue to do all that we can to avoid delays that will impact your travel. And our hope is that Democrats will soon recognize the importance of opening the government.
Can we agree that this administration, led by Donald Trump, has made the most expeditious, effective, high impact, and creative use of social media and their opportunities through official media streams, but they are the best bunch of communicators I have ever seen collectively in any administration. And it is just so fun to watch that. I mean, it is brilliant. She is just poking the bear there. Well, the subtext there, right, is like, all you liberals who love the Democrats and hate Donald Trump, the Democrats that shut the government down, that's on your side. But we're doing our best to keep you safe and comfortable. I mean, it is just such a stab at the Democrats and speaking, between the lines to the people that elected those Democrats. Would you agree with me, though, that Jerome, that it's fun to watch this creativity that they have?
Yeah, whoever runs the White House account, and it comes up with a lot of these memes and a lot of the like those sorts of things, is just, they're on their game for sure. And I know a lot of people when I was growing up, they called Barack Obama the tech president because he was one of the first to actually start implementing that. But I think the people that are in President Trump's cabinet definitely understand the importance and the utility of having a strong social media presence, as well as making the content relatable and shareable.
And I think it's beginning to now have impact on some lawmakers as well. Mike Lawler, this is cut T6. Mike Lawler, the New York area congressman, he's one of the very few. He's the diamond in the rough up there in New York City. He was going around the Capitol hammering Hakeem Jeffries, like, why don't you get your guy? You've got the bill here. Don't bellyache about women not getting WIC and people not getting Medicaid and Obamacare this and, military. Just pass the CR. We've already done it. And so here he was approaching Mike Kelly and the other senator from Arizona and just basically in their face. Take a listen.
With all due respect, you voted multiple times to keep the government shut down, okay? The Republican members from Arizona voted to keep the government open. So don't sit here and try to lecture us about whether or not we did our job. We did our job. You did not.
Well, you're not doing your job right now.
Oh, you mean the bill that I'm signed on to extend it? Oh, yeah, cute, right, because you know what? We actually have put forth legislation to do it. You guys just keep pontificating. How about you go down the hall and go vote to open the government up? That would be great. All right, here's the clean CR. Go vote to open the government up. Thank you very much.
Okay, you got to love that, right? I mean, I just love that assertiveness, that aggressive, offensive posture. I mean, every play is like, well, when the Kansas City Chiefs were a better team. It was just like, they're going to be throwing the ball down the field. Mahomes is going to be running. They're taking many angles, multi-dimensional attack on the Democrats. It's like, guys, we've passed the bill, the CR in the House, that extends the Biden budget. We're not even asking you to roll back. There's nothing in there. None of our wants are in there. None of our asks. And at the same time, you guys are asking to undo what we duly did through legislation in the Big Beautiful Bill Act to save Medicaid by taking the illegals off of it, by taking the fraud and abuse away from it, which is rampant, by the way. And I just think it's very effective. Now, the Democrats, they continue to point to, people are, they're using a straw man argument. This is not about having this discussion now about reforming healthcare. And I talked to Eric Schmidt the other day on my Columbia show, and Senator Schmidt is like, yeah, we're going to have that discussion, but that's not the point. That's the point of order right now. And it's brilliantly done. And then you got J.D. Vance, clip T2. J.D. Vance had a cabinet meeting the other day he's doing a little stand-up over Donald Trump's Middle East success with the pending Gaza. Well, I guess it's now officially a ceasefire, and the IDF forces are withdrawing. We're awaiting the transfer of all the hostages, alive and dead, in exchange for 2,000 Israeli-held Palestinian prisoners. But here's a little bit of what I don't know where he came up with this, but it was fun.
Would say is obviously the President of the United States, a New York real estate billionaire, one of the most famous New Yorkers in the world, has a lot of interaction with a lot of people who are very pro-Israel. I think that was an important set of experiences and life experiences that he brought to the table. He also, of course, knew one of the most famous Palestinians in the world, Chuck Schumer. And I think without that background of knowledge, it would have been impossible to get us to this point.
Oh, my God.
Second thing I would say, just on Chuck Schumer, the president.
All right. So JD was, I think that barring any GOP meltdown and failure in their leadership decisions having calamitous impact on the people, and there's a risk there with the tariffs. There's a real risk there with the tariffs. There's a risk there if they don't handle this shutdown right, messaging-wise, and continue to clearly place the blame where it belongs, which is in the hands of the Democrats. The ball is in their court. There's been a little waffling. We see MTG backing off now, and why don't we? And I understand that. Getting around this military pay thing, as we talk with Virginia Kruta, herself a veteran. I've got a daughter who's stay-at-home mom, homeschooling the kids, and a service member husband, right? And they're living paycheck to paycheck, basically, like a lot of people are. Yeah, they've got a little bit put away for a rainy day, but they don't want that rainy day to come now. And she's asking the questions. Why are we getting left out in the cold? I don't blame her. And by the way, she's a staunch conservative. I don't think she'd mind me saying that, but I think those are vulnerable points during this discussion, Jerome. And I hope what Virginia said is true, or what she speculated, that Trump's got something up his sleeve to, if the Congress won't do it, and keep Johnson's argument pure, which is, look, we're not going to cave to your demands. We've already passed a CR that would have had that check in the military members' hands on the 15th. If you'd have just passed it, while we work through these other issues, we'll address your issues about healthcare, about premiums that are actually deserved, not too padded for the insurance companies, not too much subsidy for bad care, inaccessible care, narrow networks, denial of care, which is Obamacare. We want you guys to get care, but we want it so it's affordable and it's accessible in the way it should be, not the way the Democrats just want to keep subsidizing the unsubsidizable. It's indefensible what's going on in healthcare. So I hope that Trump gives cover to Johnson and his crew. I don't know. How can he do that, Jerome? He's already he's already found a pot of money to give to WIC. And what about the farmers that are belly aching appropriately? Because the tariff policies have now made China angry, and they're going to be angrier, and they're going to take their business elsewhere, their soybean business and corn. So now he's going to have to bail out the farmers. Well, is there going to be a pot of money left for the service members?
That's something that I'm wondering as well. Is one, why start a tariff war without bringing more production back domestically? Because this would be a little bit less. A little bit less stressful on everybody if we had just gotten more of that coming back over here first, gotten that going, and then started the tariff war. And then the second thing is, how is it that we don't have money to pay our service members and our military, but we're still paying Congress? We are still paying Congress while the government shut down. So it's almost like, hey, let's take a paid vacation while everybody else in the government has to figure out where the next paycheck's going to come from. And I know that there's a talk about that they'll get like a back pay when the session resumes.
Yeah.
But if you are a petty, conniving person, then it would make absolute sense to keep the government shut down for your own political reasons, to maximize the pressure point on Americans and keep repeating a narrative while you're going to get paid. So there's a lot going wrong with our government right now. And I I'm not sure we're going to go for, once the government reopens. I mean, I know there are going to be layoffs and there's talks about, cutting more funding in these different areas, but we're feeling real pain and pressure right now. And I don't understand how this is sustainable.
It brings to mind, Jerome, why aren't we seeing a mass conglomeration of Congress people and senators on the steps of the U.S. Capitol with a few simple sentences? As of today, we are returning any money that has been paid into our accounts by automatic deposit into our congressional payment accounts for our personal, accounts. And we are denying all that. We are challenging the Democrats to do the same. And we are asking the Democrats to, at the same time, vote for the continuing resolution so that our service members can get paid on October 15th. I mean, wouldn't that be the right messaging? Just say, guys, we don't want to get paid. We're denying that payment and any payment going forward. And at the same time, we're asking you Democrats, why don't you vote for the CR so that service members can get paid? Why aren't they having that photo op? That would be a very effective one. Why aren't these? Because it's a vulnerable point for the Democrats are taking advantage of that. Of course, they're not denying their own salaries, but I mean, why aren't all the Republicans saying, look, it's right that the service members should get paid, but that's on the Democrats. We've passed that bill in the House, and the Democrats in the Senate aren't passing that in the Senate. And that's on them, but we're going to make sure that we're not getting paid. All of us, every GOP senator and legislator. That should happen. That's the challenge to all of them today from the Tobler Show. Hey, let's wrap it up after we take a short break. Inviting your phone calls, 314-912-1019. Here on News Talk STL, that's 1019-94.1. And the app, and the Alexa, and the website. That app is fabulous, by the way. I take it with me everywhere. We'll be back.
Arguments strewn with gaping defects in logic.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just a convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere. Hi, I'm Mark Sutherland, founder of Stone Ledge Distillery, and I'd like to give you a bottle of Stoloch whiskey or Inversion vodka. Enter now at stoneledgedistillery.com/win. Come experience our tasting room in historic Defiance. Enjoy Stoloch whiskey, Inversion vodka, and other Missouri-made spirits, wine, and craft beer in our beautiful cocktail lounge, cigar room, or out on the patio with live music every weekend. Don't forget, win a bottle of Stoloch or Inversion at stoneledgedistillery.com/win. Come raise a glass in Defiance.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. For 28 years, we've been your trusted supplier for everything seasonal. It's homegrown apple season. Choose from many local varieties. Grab some caramel dip or try our made-in-house gourmet caramel apples. Fall decorating? We've got Hardy Mums, corn stalks, straw bales, pumpkins, gourds, Indian corn, and jumbo specialty pumpkins. Perfect for carving or pies. Plus seasoned firewood available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30 and Sundays, 8 to 5 on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
So I hear an out-of-towner asking someone, where's the best place to eat? Before they could respond, I said, Cafe Napoli. Where? Well, I said, Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, and then you got Napoli Kirkwood, plus you got Napoli Pizza and Pasta in Chesterfield. You'll find Napoli everywhere. It's not too early to book a party and buy gift cards. Cafe Napoli.
Still waking up like you fought a bear in your sleep? Yeah, let's fix that. This Labor Day, starting September 5th, save up to $725 on top brands like Tempur-Pedic, Serta, and Beauty Rest. Only at Snooze Mattress Company in Chesterfield Valley. Here's the real game changer, Dream Mapping. We scan your pressure points and match you to the perfect mattress. No guesswork, just real comfort, personalized for you. Plus, 0% easy financing and local no-pressure service. Get in here, because if you don't snooze, you lose.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer. On News Talk STL. Randy Tobler.
It's my favorite show in the entire world.
This is News Talk STL.
Yeah, mine too. That guy's right.
Very humble of you.
Yeah, very humble of me. Yeah. No, I just love this. You know, we have a chance on Saturday mornings to do some deep dives into things, and hope you enjoy that, because the experts that we have look at these issues and really can help us unpack them and understand them, because you might have the opportunity to take someone who is not objectively thinking about the facts of a given matter or the problems inherent in a given government policy, and all you read is the headlines, and you see the talking heads, and they only have 5 minutes, and then it's into commercials, and so we can sit down and talk about it. And if you have a chance, then at the water cooler, the lunch counter, maybe during the boring halftime show with Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. Oh, by the way, I digress. Isn't that great? TPUSA is going to have their alternative halftime show. That deserves applause. But you want to have your facts at your hands, so that right there, so that you can bring them up and say, hey, what did you know that doctors spend 14 hours a week? And sometimes that means docs and their staff, but I mean, tremendous amount of time. I know I spend at least 2 to 3 hours a week just in complying with insurance company, jumping through hoops on behalf of patients, trying to get this approved or that approved, or arguing this or appealing that. What did you know that, dear friend, who thinks that the Democrats are right by just wanting to subsidize more of it through this shutdown threat and holding you hostage? You gotta connect those dots, but it takes facts to do that. And I think you can do that. That's what we try to do. All right, now here's another thing that's troubling me. The fascists are the Antifa. Can we all agree on that? They are the fascists. How ironic they call themselves anti-fascist. Because if you don't walk their walk, talk their talk, agree with everything that they agree with, and march in lockstep, they think it's okay to violently attack you, prevent you from going class if you're an Israeli student going across the quadrangle on many universities, attack you if you're an independent reporter. Okay, so they, though, are now being called, as Donald Trump, domestic terrorist organization. Jimmy Kimmel and many talking heads are saying, well, they're not really an organization, so you can't really say they're domestic terrorists. That doesn't give you the liberty to prosecute them as such, blah, blah, blah. Well, then this happened at a White House roundtable the other day. This is Nick Shirley. He's sort of an independent reporter, one of these people that either get beat up like Andy Ngo or the poor woman out in Portland who ended up with a black eye. Did you see that? And listen to what he told the president, what his experience was with this Antifa group.
Please go ahead. Yeah, my name's Nick Shirley. I'm 23 years old. I'm a 100% independent YouTube journalist. And over the past year or so, I've been able to go to 15 countries. I've hung out with people in the gangs of Brazil, in the favelas, in the prisons of Secot. But yet the most dangerous places I have been here in the United States, unfortunately. And I've had the opportunity to show people about the protest Antifa here in the United States, and there's nothing organic about what they are doing here in the United States. I've watched people be bussed in from states. I've watched the same lady at a protest in Atlanta be bused to protest in DC and then in New York City. There's nothing that is honest about what they are doing. And they have signs. I've seen the same signs here in DC and in London as well. It's a big organization and corporation that they're running. And people may wonder, like, what's the threat to us as Americans if we go? Well, you'll be labeled as a fascist, you'll be labeled as a Nazi, and they'll wish death upon you because they wish death upon me.
Okay.
And just
so he went on to talk about the impact on everyday Americans, all the way up to Charlie Kirk's. There's now it's basically a death wish upon anyone who isn't Antifa. And that could include you if you're overt about your social media posts, if you have a platform, if you are the head of an organization that is an advocacy group. Now, whether or not they're truly organized, I think I would agree in the sense of having, like, Antifa.com. I would agree. They wouldn't. They're smarter than that. They don't want to do that. They go in those the encrypted things, the Discords, the Reddits. They are purposely sort of decentralized, but there has to be some centralized funding to them. No.
I mean, it's a very strong strategy to call yourself the anti-bad guys, because that way, if you're beating somebody up, then clearly they have to be the bad guys, right? You wouldn't just go around beating up good guys and lying about it. Now, that being said, yeah, the way that these groups sort of organize is more, it's not as like a hierarchical structure like we would imagine traditional terrorism. It's more decentralized. It's more of a coalition of people. So they find groups that they can organize with and communicate with out of the public eye or out of the public ear. And then they will find people that are sympathetic to the cause. And those people are the ones usually that will be funding them. Now, the issue is with a lot of ways of accepting anonymous payments now, it's really hard to definitively say, hey, this exact person, this exact group. But there are, in my studies at least, I have found that there are groups that are considering themselves either a charity group or a non-government organization, some sort of group that can accept payments from people saying we support democracy or we support anti-bad guy stuff. And then some of those donations are used to help buy the supplies and organize and get the actual message out. And then the people that are sympathetic to those causes know where to go and where to get the stuff they need. And it's actually quite difficult to track down properly.
What I'm hearing you say is it's certainly going to be hard to prove that funding, organization ABC, I don't like Trump's policies against immigrants. I'm going to buy you some signs that say, I don't like Trump's anti-immigrant policies. Okay, there's nothing, you're never going to prosecute that. That's free speech, right? You're just helping that. Knowing that when they get off the buses, there's some chatter that goes on, and it turns into more than just walking peacefully down the sidewalk with a sign, right?
Yes.
And that's where it's going to be hard to maybe come in with a RICO prosecution or something like that. I mean, unless you got an email that has some connection between the provision of hardware translating into violence. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Boy, that's tough, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's essentially it's funded by, in a way, money laundering, and we all know how difficult that is to track.
Yeah. But don't you have to ask yourself, what's wrong with American parents that these young skulls full of mush, these cowards that go out there and do this? Why aren't they telling them that, what is the matter with you? I'm going to disown you. See this will? You used to be in it. Not anymore. Oh, okay. Probably the young coward would attack the parent then. I don't know. All right. Hey, that's got to wrap it up. I'm told we got to move aside so that Eric and Bob can regale you with their economic wisdom. And boy, there's a lot of moving parts in that space, isn't there? They really do a great job. I hope that you'll enjoy listening with me as we follow up. Thanks for being here today and every day. Stay with me at Randy Tobler, MD on X, and we'll plan on seeing you next week with another big roundup of the great things going on and the not so great things going on. Enjoy you being part of it all morning. Have a great weekend.
That transfigures you and me as he died to make men holy. Let us live to make men free while God is marching on.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SI.